Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Celtics began what is expected to be a series of roster moves late last night, sending Drew Holiday to Portland for 26-year-old Anthony Simons and a pair of second-round draft picks. Simons is entering the final year of his 4-year, $100 million contract. He scored 19 points a game for the Trailblazers this past season. The NBA draft, by the way, begins tomorrow night. In other league news, Tyrese Halliburton underwent surgery yesterday to repair a torn right Achilles tendon. He may miss all of next season. Red Sox lost their third in a row last night, 9-5 to the Angels on the West Coast. This was a 5-5 game until Garrett Whitlock allowed 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Trevor Story homered and William Abreu added a 2-run single in the loss. Garrett Crochet faces the Angels tonight. The Bruins have re-signed defenseman Mason Lowry to a 2-year, $6.4 million contract extension, and the Hockey Hall of Fame is expected to announce its class of 2025 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time today. Former Bruins captain Zdeno Chara is a first-time eligible, along with Tuukka Rask and Joe Thornton. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, the official oil change of busy people. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher.
When has that been necessary to fact check?
And Hardy.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
On 98.5.
Hello. Hey there.
Sarge, GPT booting up.
Let me hear you say, "Boo! Boo! Boo!"
Crush me, mommy.
Say my name.
I'm a robot.
I'm the son of the Pope.
I'm a goddamn drag!
Yeah, good luck, dude.
Nothing like a good tushy.
I love you, and I think you know that.
Excuse me?
Toucher. And Hardy.
Watch Daddy and Uncle Freddie.
Knocking back some fans and having some fun.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go.
Oh, poor Freddie T.
Oh, no.
Out today. Tapped out 4:57 p.m. yesterday. I'm pretty sick.
Is that what it was?
I'm pretty sick.
I didn't find out.
How the text began.
I didn't find out until this morning.
Welcome to Toucher and Hardy here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Good news, though. Andrew Callahan has joined us. Hello. Good morning, Andrew.
We're back, baby.
What do you mean? What do you mean we're back? It's nothing that I'm not used to. It was just there were 3 days last week. Number one, he had his, what do they call it? It's not a graduation. It's a
Moving up ceremony.
Yeah, promotion ceremony or whatever from leaving 8th grade. He shocked the world when he received an award this is a week ago Monday, for highest average in math.
Whoa.
Now, this came as a surprise to me. I didn't even know he took math. Apparently, math is a class in school that is still taught that I hung on by the skin of my teeth for the last 2 years of high school. Like, I had no idea what was going on past week 3 of trigonometry. I had 0.0 understanding of the subject matter and passed by the good graces of my teacher, Mr. Manelli, who I assume is no longer with us, so I'll say rest in peace. But if he's still with us, thank you, Mr. Manelli.
Any relation to Liza?
No. Mr. Manelli passed me in, what was it called? Probability and statistics and trig. I think it was split into 2 years. The junior year was like trig at first and then prob and stats. Or maybe they called it math analysis at that point. And then calculus was senior year. I had no idea. I didn't understand any of it. What do you mean sine, cosine? What does that mean? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Geometry, I was a whiz. I got it. I totally blew through that and algebra. By the time my daughter got to 7th grade, I'm like, I'll be able to help you for the next 3 years minimum. I can get you through algebra and I can get you through geometry. Nope. I had forgotten most of it, couldn't do it anymore. So She got help from a neighbor of ours through high school. I would say like 3-4 times. She would get some tutoring on because it's tough. It's tough stuff. This kid has never asked for help in anything, 0 math, and ended up with he was one of the 3 kids in his class to get an award, not for achievement in math, like, hey, kid, you are 3/4 dopey. But, you made it through this class, and you showed up with your book and your pencil every day, so we're going to give you an award. No, highest average in math he got.
So when you said shock the world, I'm imagining an audience of parents with a distant, oh!
Yeah.
Like they cannot believe.
Calvin Poole, what?
Hardy's kid.
They're all stupid. No.
What an upset.
He's not stupid. He's not. He's good. He's good in math.
What did your father... Wait, hold on. I need to know this.
What?
When you were in school, did your father help you with anything? Okay. That was the answer I thought I was going to get.
So my dad died in 2013. And when we were like going through all his stuff, my Aunt Nancy, who is still alive, his sister, she had and gave, I think my sister has it now. And it is maybe my most precious family heirloom because we had heard about this, but had never actually seen it. It turned out my Aunt Nancy had a report card from my father from high school. Mm-hmm. And it said, the teacher wrote in this beautiful, like, let's see, he was born in 36. So 1950s, like cursive writing. My father's teacher wrote, Sydney is a perfect example of a complete waste of the taxpayer's money.
Oh, my God.
My father took U.S. history 5 times.
Oh, my God. Wow.
He must have thought it was the news. He's saying the same
Oh.
thing every year, just being like, oh, we're North versus South again. Man, I can't believe this is happening.
No, the worst part is I still don't get it. It's like year 4.
Who won?
I don't understand.
Keep a record of your guesses from last year and do
Wait a
the
minute.
opposite.
Hey, can you imagine if they were doing like World War II as part of American? It just happened.
I know.
You were like, you were 7 years old. You
5
should
years
remember
ago,
this.
we dropped the bomb. It's over.
Here we go again.
We just did this.
But yeah, okay. So what were they focusing in on? Like Civil War, North, W.
Yeah.
Lincoln? Lincoln? Who? The logs?
So my dad had to take U.S. history in all 4 years of high school and then summer school.
Oh,
after like everyone's done, they're off to do whatever. Like join the army, go to. I don't know. He never talked about college at all. It was never a consideration. Like none of his friends ever went or anything.
Yeah.
But whatever he did after high school, it had to wait until he took U.S. history for a 5th time. So yeah, academically, no great shakes. The entire family. My daughter is probably the highest achieving one out of like our 2 immediate families so far. She's done well, but my Marcy's smart. She's got a college degree, but it's not like, it's any kind of, academic excellence. We're like, no, you're fine. Do whatever. So, yeah, that was Monday. I worked Tuesday, Wednesday, and then, we were hanging out on Thursday and Friday.
Nice.
He has to work today, day number 2 of his summer job outdoors. At the pool,
Jesus,
checking people in, working the snack bar. Wow. He was asking us last night. It's like, do we have a fan? Like, what? Is that fan ain't gonna help you, kid? You're gonna die.
just blow the warm air around.
Yeah, John, I don't know what to tell you. Wrap a cold towel around your neck before you head out the door.
Why don't you jerry rig a fan using your proper angles?
Ooh.
Well,
here's your
math
opportunity to make something. Right here.
We got something. From the Travelers Championship last
Oh,
week.
yes, the neck fan. Yes, we did get that, didn't we?
It's a neck fan, Andrew. It kind of looks like headphones, right? But instead of the things going over your ears, it goes around your neck and it obviously runs on a rechargeable battery and it just blows 105-degree air at your neck.
Not effective, but
It sounds
but
like-
interesting.
I don't think there's a cooling element.
No, there really
Replicating the
isn't.
sensation of someone breathing on you, like at that temperature, it's just someone like breathing on under neck.
Circulated air is better than uncirculated air. So, yeah, maybe I'll loan him the neck fan today.
Did you take him out or anything? Like, is highest math average worthy of ice cream? Is it worthy
After
of
on Monday,
a beer on Dad?
right after the ceremonies, we pretty much went straight to Top Golf. And
Nice.
Yeah, we had a long session at Top Golf with lots of food and Angry Birds and all that stuff. So yeah, that was the big celebratory outing after that. So, Fred has dual ailments. I believe it was a headache and some kind of congestion, and it's just it's not good. So he's not going to be with us today. But Andrew is here. A little bit later on, hopefully we'll be joined by one person, but certainly Andrew, who not only covers the Patriots for the Boston Herald, also some great Celtics coverage. I'm sure you have plenty of thoughts on the Drew Holiday trade, which we'll be talking about here during the show today. Not now. I'm just setting the table, you understand.
We still got 10 minutes here, right? 8-ish?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We're not doing it now, though. We don't do it.
Standing down. Standing down.
Easy.
We're easing in.
We're easing in. And did you bring two stats and a lie today?
Yeah, I have two additions because the NBA draft is tomorrow. And you remember before the NFL draft, we did an edition where I had two real prospects, and then I made up a fake one.
Right.
So we have that in addition to a separate edition of Two Stats and a Lie, more traditional, Red Sox oriented with one Celtics stat or lie in there.
Okay.
And we can do both, or you could take your pick, whatever Hardy wants.
I'm looking to see.
Actually, whatever Wallach wants. He's undefeated so far in the
Damn
offseason.
right I am.
There's no off-season statistics
It's
for two stats
fantastic.
and a
You
lie.
see, that's jealousy. That's all that
Well, he
is.
does keep the standing, so I don't
I know.
think
I just going to say, for someone who's so gung-ho about this whole deal, all of a sudden he's not keeping track.
I really missed you last week because there was not only just the scribbling that was absent when you're taking notes every time I say the stat and or
I'm
the
paying
lie.
attention.
But there was one part of the second one where I go, he would lock in on this and be like, he said in the regular season. To me, that's a small difference. If he included the postseason, these stats would be a lie.
Yeah, that was the Vrabel sack total, was it not?
Yes.
Yes, which I got.
Yeah, if you had to guess, Hardy, off the top of your head, does
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel have more wins in the regular season as a head coach or more sacks as a player?
See, in the regular season, that's my tip-off right there.
That's what I was saying. I was like, if Hardy was here, he would be locking in on the regular season part and be just staring me, trying to stare through me.
I would say sack. I would go the sack total is higher.
You'd be correct.
Yeah, see?
57 to 54.
That's how I do that. That's how I do
Wallach was the only other one in the room that got
it.
that.
You know what I did, Wallach?
You deduced it.
I deduced it.
Wow.
I thought I had saved the two stats, the multiple stats and multiple lies that George had put together for us because he did.
I forgot about that.
Because he did, I think, 3 that day. And,
No, he did more.
well, he did it. All I know is that he did one, and it was so odd. I don't want to say bad because I love George. And, anybody who's just willing to do the work, I love him and respect him. And that kid is willing to do the work. But he presented us with two stats and a lie that was really odd in the way it was phrased, presented, all of it. And I wanted to pull the ripcord mid-segment, and then Andrew, sitting here, forced him to do a second one, which really angered me in the moment. But we never got to the third. I think maybe I read the third one when Fred came back.
You did.
Yes.
You did. Yeah,
Yes.
we did.
So
Yes,
we
you
have
did
covered
cover
them all.
That's why I don't have it anymore.
I could swear there were more because it was a whole sheet of paper. Like there
Oh,
was
yeah.
a wrestling one, there was a football one,
right.
there was like a holiday song, two stats and a lie.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, you were not happy. I was trying to
Nothing was
shoehorn them
remotely
in there.
connected to anything else. So at least Andrew comes in with like a theme, like you discussed, NBA draft.
You know what? I'll say
whatever.
though, I've never brought in 3 or more. So when we say hat tip to Georgie, this is not the token nice guy on air hat tip, and then off air be like, yeah, that sucked. Like, no, I appreciated the work you put into that.
but the way he presented it was, it's like he gave it away. He's like, Hulk Hogan was a 2-time international champion, and so was Iron Sheik. Rowdy Roddy Piper never had it. Like, what?
Yeah, right.
Well,
Okay.
Is that a statement of fact? What is that?
They all kind of ran together.
Yeah.
And some of them he said so definitively, those were obviously the stats. So I was like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do with that statement? You just made a statement. You didn't present me with anything.
It's like he was hanging up the phone with his dad. He's like, yeah, I got to go. And Hulk Hogan was a 2-time champ.
Yeah.
I'll see you later.
Yeah. So Fred is not here. Obviously, are his parents gone this morning?
I believe they were leaving town today.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if I were in some kind of situation like that and I had the opportunity to just like not come into work and, Fred is in fact sick. Sure. Fine. Whatever. But if you need further proof of that, I don't think Fred has any interest in taking a day off where he's not doing anything and just staying home. Is that something that appeals to you, Wallach? Like there was one day last week when, I was home with my son because my wife and daughter were gone, and he doesn't necessarily need me there, and we did some stuff, but we did a lot of just around the house stuff too, and I love it. I am perfectly fine doing that. I don't think Fred has any interest in that. He doesn't want time off from work when he is at home. He needs to be gone. Like out of his house if he's out of work.
Yeah, I get stir crazy if I just kind of sit in the house or I'm around the house all
there's
day.
No sitting.
No, but
when I'm home,
of course not, Hardy. You're an everyman. You're all over it. You're fixing things.
I'm not.
Things.
It's not even necessarily fixing things. It's just I can't sit still.
Right.
So that I can keep myself busy though. And if you tell me, you got the day off tomorrow, but you don't have any plans. I'll make plans if I can, but I'll also do plenty of stuff just if those plans fall through and I just do stuff around the house. That's okay too. I'm fine with that.
If I have a day off, I have to be going somewhere physically out of the house or doing something away from the house.
Okay, so you can't stay in the house. Can you stay in the house, Andrew?
No, it's tough. And look, I have a smaller apartment, and right now today would be the worst day in the world for that because we're third floor. And we got like multiple rooms running with borrowed AC units just to kind of hang out and stay alive up there.
Oh,
but no, I don't know. I always have the vision of like, hey, some people just like wake up and watch Netflix and just have a pizza at 10:30 and then just kind of hang out. And I'm like, that sounds good. And then I would get to noon and be like, I need to go outside. I can't. This is not as good as it was in my head. I need to move. I need to go do something. Yep. But there's something to that. Like, do they have inner peace that we don't? Are we just too fidgety?
No, I think they do. And the people who can just like be completely content to just not do anything, or like you said, watch TV for like 7-8 hours. Yeah, a quiet mind. Oh, that's something to strive for, isn't it?
I was just going to say that's something that needs to be achieved. And it takes a lot of practice, too, to quiet yourself down, at least in my experience.
I had like 2 hours yesterday when I could have just chilled, and that's what I should have done because I had a doctor's appointment, like back in my old neighborhood near Rossi at 3:30. And I've told you about my doctor before. His one rule is you cannot be late, ever, for no reason. Are you allowed to be late? And if you're late, he'll drop you as a patient. You're told that when you first sign on as this guy's, and he's great. My wife and I have both been going to him for decades now. But knowing this, and appointment is at 3:30. So I'm telling myself, I'll leave the house at 2:30. I'll be there half an hour early. I'll be the, patient number one. I start tinkering and dicking around with stuff. And in the middle of dicking around with something in the backyard, I smell a smell. Like, oh, that's a dead animal. That's not good. And a neighbor of mine was over helping me with something.
Of course.
And he's like, oh, I hope it didn't get under your shed. That's bad news. I'm like, yeah, because how do you get a dead animal out from underneath the shed? Like, you start, you have to like dig a hole and he's talking about going home to get his scope. He's got, one of those, like spy movie things where you can stick it underneath and, start poking around and stuff. I didn't get that far. I found it. It was a dead rabbit. It was behind the shed, so it wasn't underneath. But now it's 2:30. And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be leaving the house right now by the time I finally find the corpse. And now I have to take it well into the woods, bury it, and get rid of this thing. So by the time I get done dicking around, It's 2:45. I haven't showered yet, and I have a doctor's appointment at 3:30 that I cannot be late for. So this is the problem with not being able to sit still. Oftentimes, you're running late because you keep trying to do stuff. That was me yesterday.
But you made it on time.
And I got rid of the smell.
Did you have to bury it, though?
Okay, I say bury, but
I was going to say, either if you're deep in the woods, that seems good enough.
Yeah, you don't have to bury it.
I'm among friends. He told me, he's like, yeah, bury it, dude. Because, here's a guy who always does things right, too. I took it about, I'd say, 60 yards off the property line and gave it a final resting place.
So you flung it.
In the thicket.
That's all you need.
Yeah, I think so, too, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's how it would have died naturally.
Thank you. And the rabbits got to die all the time out there. They don't get buried.
Yeah, see.
Okay. All right. And he wasn't saying that, to give it like a proper funeral. He was saying like to keep the smell down and the animals away from him. Like what happens when a rabbit dies normally? It happens. All right. We'll find out what happened last night from Wallach. We'll be talking Drew Holiday and Red Sox and everything else. So stay with us here on Toucher and Hardy. Hold on. That fan ain't going to help you, kid. You're going to die.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
clock sounds like this, this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
All right, it's Toucher and Hardy without Fred this morning. Andrew Callahan is here. What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lepresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. Wallach.
Yes.
What happened last night?
Well, we all know the Celtics need to offload salary. We knew that entering this offseason, but I don't think any of us thought they would get something of true significance for the pieces they wanted to get rid of because the salaries they were trying to offload were large. So enter the Portland Trailblazers. The Celtics traded 35-year-old Drew Holiday to Portland late last night with 3 years left on his contract in exchange for 26-year-old Anthony Simons, a guy who scored 21 points a game over the last 3 seasons and shoots 37 from 3. ESPN NBA analyst Bobby Marks is not a fan of this for Portland.
I'm not a big fan of the $72 million that you are inheriting, but that is the risk, and that is where Portland probably sees their roster right now. 36 wins in a ridiculously tough Western Conference. The status quo doesn't work right now.
Not at all. Marks did add Portland's motivation, as he just said, just to make the postseason.
You basically parlayed your cap's flexibility next year into a player that has won multiple championships, and you're hoping that you get that spark where, you're probably potentially now you could be in that play-in mix here. Probably need a +8 in wins for next year. And that is the addition with Holiday.
Celtics also got a pair of second-round picks in this deal, which is far better than anyone could have hoped for in this case. The Celtics got younger. They got a guy who shoots the lights out. The problem with Simons, and one of the reasons Portland let him go, is that he's not a good defensive player at all. I mean, defense is an afterthought for him. He is a volume shooter. If you look at his numbers, he shoots about 8 or 9 threes a game and about 15 or 16 shots a game. He was Portland's number one option on offense this past season, but it's an expiring deal. The Celtics get out from under the final 2 years of this Holiday contract. They saved themselves anywhere between $5 and $7 million in salary. Still, they're not out from under the weight of this second apron penalty, but a very good deal for Brad Stevens.
Okay, so you explain it to me, Wallach.
Okay.
He's averaging throughout his career about 15 points a game.
Last 3 seasons have been much better than that.
21, 22, 19. So he took a dip last year. He is one of the best players on a bad team. He shoots a lot, and I don't know from Portland. I didn't watch any Portland Trailblazers game last year. Is he is he top 2 guy for Portland
on that team? Yes.
Okay. Should he be scoring even more than that with the amount that he shoots and the fact that they have no one else to go to?
I think 20 points a game is 20 points a game.
20 points a game is fantastic, okay? But if he were doing it in a situation where there was somebody who was out there scoring 24 and they had actually won some games, I'd be more impressed. The defense bothers me for 2 reasons. Number one, they are going to have to get much better defensively in this next year based on and probably the years after. If you're going to be without multiple star players, which every team in the league is going to have to contend with, and you're just going to have to get defensively better against everyone you play against because you won't be able to put up huge offensive numbers. But also looking at how Oklahoma City just won their championship, and they did it through defense, primarily, at least in the finals series. So that bothers me a little bit because I don't know from Anthony Simons. I know he didn't, he went straight from IMG to the pros, and I know a little bit about him, but I don't know enough about his game to say whether or not he can compete effectively in this not today's NBA, but the changing NBA.
I don't think you're looking at this right. I think that next year is a bridge year. Brad Stevens is kind of treating it like that. And Anthony Simons has 1 year left on his contract. If he sticks and learns how to play defense, great. He fits into the offensive philosophy for this team, which is to take as many threes as possible. That's also great. And the Celtics have a year to kind of try him out. But having said that, he certainly is a candidate to be moved. It's a lot easier to move this contract than it was to move Drew Holiday's contract. I think that this is a wait and see, maybe we can teach him defense, maybe we can't, but the expectations are a lot lower. And, hey, we got something for Drew Holiday.
I look at this, and they have plenty of optionality left, even just with Anthony Simons. Because of the expiring contract, you could flip him this summer. You could flip him at the deadline, or you could just let the contract expire and free up the money that way and go, thanks for your time in this transition year. Maybe a sign and trade. I don't know if they'll be under the second apron by then, at which point they could do that. Otherwise, they pretty much couldn't. The Simons thing, aside from just keeping your options open, and I do think there's a good possibility they flip him again, is interesting, though, Wallach, because if they do keep him, he does not fit into the ethos of what the Celtics have been over the last 3-4 years, where the whole idea of building this team this way was, everyone can shoot threes, obviously fits there, but also everyone can defend in isolation. And even though they didn't play this constant switch everything defense with all of their big wings and large guards, even Porzingis could handle his own well enough when teams would force a switch. If you're an opponent now of the Celtics, you look at Simons, just as the Celtics did when they played him in Portland, and go, bring him up, bring him into the action, high ball screen, we'll get the switch, and Tatum and Brown are licking their chops looking at him, and the Celtics do not suffer those matchups, or at least haven't since they let Kemba Walker go.
It's interesting you say that. One of the games I did a couple of years ago was in Portland. They hunted him the entire game relentlessly. Where is he? Let's switch off and make sure that's the weak link. Drew Holiday is an excellent, excellent defensive player. This kid is not. He will be the guy that teams go after night after night after night. He is the weak link of defensively when he's on the floor. He's fun to watch. As I said, volume shooter. If he gets hot, he's going to make a few. But, I think this is the new reality for the Celtics. They're going to get, whether it be mismatched parts or pennies on the dollar, they just have to get rid of players and their salary.
It stinks that you have to give up a great defensive player like Drew Holiday. And again, the secret sauce that stirs the drink for championship teams. Apparently, this is something that it's pretty good label to hang on yourself or to have hung on you. It's like, he's not your superstar player, but if you want to win a championship, you need Drew Holiday. Like, what a cool thing, for this guy's career to have morphed into. But
they saved the spot of the Olympic team for him.
But this
he was never staying, though.
No. I get it. How about this? Let's just focus on Simon. Drew Holiday, great player. Sucks that you can't keep him, but we knew he wasn't going to be able to keep him, so now he's gone. The player that you got back. How often do players learn how to play defense in the NBA? If they're not great defensive players and they don't have that instinct and it's not part of their calling card coming in, how often, name me some examples of players who morphed into good defensive players.
So let's just skip to the end here. Anthony Simons is never going to be a good defender in the NBA. He's too small. Even when Portland was a top 8 defense, when you look at their last 15, 20 games last year, thanks to UConn's own Donovan Clingan protecting the ring, he's getting blown by. They're minus on the floor defensively. Okay, so this is a matter of how can you insulate him in this environment, or do you run a different system where you play faster? Hardy, you talk about the lesson learned from the OKC Thunder. Just every single player is not just an average defender, but an above-average defender. Is that something where you look at Indiana and go, the Celtics might play with more pace? They might, unfortunately for some, shoot more threes and go, we will outscore you because that's our only avenue right now. Like when you give up Drew Holiday, you just can't expect to get an equal or better defender coming in. But what you can here with Simons, who did not fit in a team with other small guards who were offense first, is get someone to have a skill set that you might have been lacking when Tatum was on the bench. Someone who can create his own shot. Right now, you're going to have that, and Tatum's going to be on the bench all season.
And in answer to your question, Hardy, you can make a poor defender passable. That's about as good as you can hope for. An example of that is Enes Kanter, who is a terrible defensive player. Great rebounder, but lost in the pick and roll, couldn't really defend in today's NBA. By the time he left here, he was passable as a defender. You're never going to make a bad defender good. What you can make him is someone you're not too scared to put on the floor.
And Tyrese Halliburton's another example,
and his
right?
freedom.
And his freedom, sorry. You're right.
Woke Wallach over here.
My mistake.
Unwoke Wallach. Go back to sleep Wallach.
So Simons, I think when you look at the Halliburton comparison, he's smaller. He's 6'3", Halliburton 6'5". But Halliburton was a guy we all remember last year in the Eastern Conference Finals. That was the Tatum and Brown, bring him to me. Bring him up. I want the switch. I'm going to go right at him. Possession after possession after possession. Halliburton was not a defensive minus this year. The offseason for folks in Indiana, as far as I've read and heard, was he had kind of a wake-up call of the way the Celtics treated him in that series. I think when Simons gets here, that might be a wake-up call in practice of, hey, we're going to treat you the way we would have if you were still on the other team. What are you going to do about it? And hopefully, if you're him, who should be motivated in a contract year, right? Yeah. You commit in the same way that Halliburton did, where, okay, I'm at least going to be as long as possible. I'm going to be relentless with my effort. And if you get by me, you get by me, but I'm going to be back the next possession to be up in your chest as much as possible.
The other part of the problem is he's a smaller guard. He's about 6'3".
6'3", yeah.
So that you lose size, you lose defensibility, you gain offense. That's what you do. And in today's NBA, not necessarily a good thing if you want to be any good.
By the way, small thing, but Bobby Marks made a comment that he's the king of the cap that I rarely disagree with. Portland gets a guy like Drew Holiday who's going to make $37 million, not this upcoming season, but the one after.
You're driving me nuts with this. There you go.
Thank you.
Sounds like you're in another room.
As a salary, sorry about that.
That's all right.
To keep so that they can trade him in a deal for another star if they want to attach picks. Because right now, teams that are offloading stars need to take back similar salary. To me, like that's why they're doing this. I think they do it from a mentorship standpoint. Shaden Sharp, Scoot Henderson over there, like they had too many small guards. You get Drew in for a year, mentor, and then you flip him in the last year of his deal. And the Celtics go, yeah, that's fine. We'd rather get off of the $67.2 million over the last 2 years of his deal.
The fact that Portland's willing to do it, look.
It's a great deal.
It's a great deal for the Celtics.
Yes.
I don't know why Portland wants Drew Holiday back with that team, and like, what do they hope to accomplish with that?
Just to
contract?
that's where Portland is. They just want to make the playoffs. That's what this deal they are hoping does for them.
But how dumb is that in the NBA?
Very.
Your goal is to make the playoffs, to be a middling team,
and get picked 16.
Yeah, that is the worst place to be in the NBA.
Agreed.
Well, look, they've been wandering the wilderness now for like 5 to 6 years. Even the end of the Damian Lillard year, after they made the Western Conference Finals against Golden State and get swept, and I think it was 18, they've done virtually nothing. So I think if you have the young guards in there, and Simons at 26 was the oldest one of them, you go, Scoot, we're committed to, we're going to bring along in year 3. Shaden Sharp, hopefully do the same with him. And a guy like Drew Holiday is going to be able to teach them all of those tricks. So even if they just get a play-in berth, which might be up for grabs because Phoenix is out of the picture, you've got other teams like Utah that are not remotely going to compete, and maybe that's the entire list out there in the West. But I think the point is, if you're the Celtics, you had enough of a market where you got to nudge them into 2 extra second-round picks. That's a positive. And I do think Portland, after this upcoming season, is going to flip Drew Holiday again because of that salary. And in their minds, ideally, with picks and young players attached to that salary, get a star because that's their only path here to do that. And you're lucky for the Celtics to go, yeah, we undervalue Drew Holiday because the contract hurts us, but you're undervaluing Anthony Simons because you have too much of the same skill set in that backcourt. So we'll take him and we'll swap problems.
All right. Well, that's the move so far for the Celtics. We'll talk more about what else we can expect them to do in this offseason. But we have Red Sox from last night, Wallach.
Another banner evening for the Red Sox last night.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll continue to hear more what happened last night after the headlines here on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Celtics traded Drew Holiday late last night. They sent him packing to Portland in exchange for Anthony Simons and a pair of second-round draft picks. First round of the draft is tomorrow night. Also, Indiana star Tyrese Halliburton underwent surgery on his right Achilles yesterday. Red Sox lost to the Angels late last night, 9-5 on the West Coast. Angels snapped a 5-5 tie with a 4-run bottom of the 8th inning. Garrett Crochet will pitch against the Angels tonight. And the Bruins have re-signed defenseman Mason Lohrei. It's a 2-year, $6.4 million contract extension. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Cisco Brewers Fenway, now open. Heading to Hozier tonight. Start early at Cisco Brewers Fenway, 1301 Boylston Street, steps from the park. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy with Red out today. Andrew Callahan is here. Drew Holiday to Portland in exchange for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. Just very quickly, 2 second-round picks mean anything to anybody?
No. They are lacking draft capital in the future, and this is a way for them to start building that kind of thing. But the second-round picks aren't until 2029 or 2030.
Before we get to the Red Sox here, can you tell me? I would say remind me, but that's false because I never knew. How did Oklahoma City get all these picks?
The Paul George trade.
It was the Paul George.
One of them. They traded Paul George for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and I think 5 first-round picks.
Okay, so there's
one of those first-round picks was their number 2 guy, Jalen Williams.
Yeah. So J-Dub.
Sorry, J-Dub.
To answer your second-round pick question, they're basically just sweeteners. And by that, I mean it's like they threw sweet and low into the deal. It really is more or less.
Yeah, the second rounders.
But if you're the Celtics and you're trying to offload all this money and the entire league knows you're still, after this trade, $18 million over the second apron, you need to get under that.
Yeah.
You need a little sugar to get the deal done and to send off Porzingis or, Hauser if it might be next. So it's not nothing, but it's close.
Mike Gorman said on this show last year that second-round picks are like bacon bits on a salad. They're nice to have. They taste good occasionally, but you really don't need them.
You don't need them. No. But Oklahoma City, my God, the fact that I have no idea what this team is going to be like next year. Number one, they're still playing in the Western Conference, which is going to be an issue for any team for the next few years. We've seen the folly of trying to predict who the next dynasty is going to be in the NBA. I don't know that we're going to have one for a long time based on how this league is set up.
I think it's them. Completely. I think dynasty, we should qualify, right? Because we all do this conversation, is at least 3 titles. You have 2. Okay, you go back to back. That's cool. We never called the Lakers a dynasty at the turn of the 2010s. They were in the early 2000s, but they're under all of the aprons, all the luxury tax right now. Yeah. They have their entire roster under contract for next season. And I know you got to pay these guys, but there's a team that doesn't care about the penalties of going over the second apron. When you lose future draft picks, it's the Thunder because they have all of them already.
Again, I say folly because all it takes is one injury. If God forbid something happens to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, that's it. Mm-hmm. You're not going to do you're going to do next to nothing without him on your team. However, it doesn't even take that. It just takes a little bit of lackluster play or maybe some kind of nagging something. We saw it from Kristaps Porzingis this year. It's like if one guy is just unable to go full tilt, there's such parity now and there's such competitive balance and there will be going forward to where I hesitate. I love how they're positioned money-wise, Andrew. That's obvious and apparent, and they've got the depth. And I'll tell you something else about them, which I hadn't really thought of as people were watching these finals and weren't really blown away by Oklahoma City and how they played in the finals. They played much better in the regular season. They had games during the regular season where you looked at and said, oh, God, how is anyone going to beat them ever? That game was only there for a game or 2 during the 7-game finals series. They didn't play their best. They played their best in the regular season. Mm-hmm. So if they can bring that around to the postseason next year, I like their chances a little bit more. My overall point is I don't like anyone's chances in 2026 and for the next few years until something else changes business-wise, league-wide, for any team to be truly favored as a repeat champion, much less a dynastic champion, which to your definition, Andrew, would be 3.
Yeah, and
that's
2
crazy.
points.
That's crazy talk for OKC or anyone else.
I mean, you got crazy. 1, so now the number is 2. And so the 2 points I have, 1 for, 1 against, is that your second and third best players are third-year players.
Okay.
So for them, Jalen Williams, who in game, what was it, 4? 4. Oh, excuse me, 6. No, it was 4. Takes over in a way that goes, if we give the keys to our second best player, he can dominate the game. And we've unlocked some things where he's screening for Shea, and these guard actions are creating a ton of problems for Indiana. Oh, and Chet Holmgren's still finding his way in that he looks like a baby deer running out there. Mm-hmm. Like this team, not only just the small pieces, the young pieces around him, your best players still have not remotely gotten to their potential.
Okay, but go back a year. Wouldn't you have said the same thing about the Celtics? If they're bringing everybody back and Porzingis was going to be healthy.
Team, though.
The older, fine, more experienced veteran players, guys who had got one under their belt. You had Drew Holiday. You had Porzingis, who didn't even participate in the playoffs last year. He was going to be back in full health. And what happened? Before Tatum's injury, they were done. They were out. They were a second-round exit. And what did it take? Was it catastrophic? No, Porzingis wasn't feeling well.
Yeah,
that's all it took, and he was still playing.
And this team is better than that Celtics team was. Like, they are. Despite going 7 games in 2 series in the playoffs, they still averaged a point differential of over 8 in the postseason. We're beating all of you. We're figuring out the kinks. Like, this team is so far ahead of schedule, as much as it feels like they lost in the second round last year to Dallas. And before that, we're like a 40-win team. That the best version of this team might not even be next season. It might be 2 to 3 years out. Now, I said I had 2 points, and one was for and one was against. The against is, you talk about injuries, and this would apply more to this team, I think. Victor Wembanyama might be the best player in the entire league next season, and that might continue for the next 6 to 8, maybe 10. That's how much of a freak he is in San Antonio. Is that good enough to be as good as OKC? No, I think they're going to need more pieces, and we'll see what they do in the draft tomorrow. And Houston just got Kevin Durant.
Houston just got so much better.
Yes.
And not just because of Durant and because of who he is, but the fact that he fills a need for that mid-range jumper that they were lacking.
He also will be straight and narrow with Houston, where he wasn't with Phoenix.
All right, we're going to do more NBA talk later. Let's find out what happened with the Red Sox last night.
They continued their 9-game West Coast road trip against the Angels. Walker Buehler, who has really struggled recently, got the baseball from manager Alex Cora. He got some offensive support immediately.
Swing and a drive, sucked out to left. Ward racing back, turning around, and that ball gets out of here. Home run, Trevor Story. This game is tied. And for Story, number 11, it's a 5-5 game.
See, this is what happens when you play things out of order. This is exactly what happens when you play things out of order. I meant to play this one.
Into left field, that's going to drop down, a base hit. Toro scores. Here comes Anthony. Here's the throw home. He's safe. Trevor Story will scamper down to third. Here's the throw to second. Out there. Abreu cut down. He was very tardy trying to make his move to second. Story got in there easily to third.
Bad base running, but hey, that's the Red Sox in a nutshell anyway. And we have another instance of that from later in the game. But the Red Sox got 3 runs in the top of the first inning, and then Walker Buehler stepped out there.
Oh, gets hit by the pitch. Another RBI. Although a painful one for Neto, making it a 5-run first inning.
That's one of those spots that's a dangerous spot, too, for Neto. Right on the elbow.
Okay, Buehler gave up 5 runs, and with the bases loaded, walked 2 guys, and you just heard that hit batsman. So he forced in 3 runs by himself. Angels led 5-3. You heard them come all the way back because Trevor Story hit the home run. That made it 5-5, and Garrett Whitlock took over in the 8th inning, allowed 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th, and the Red Sox lose 9-5. They've lost 3 in a row. They're 3-4 on the road trip. Garrett Crochet faces the Angels tonight, but that isn't even the best thing that happened to the Red Sox last night. How often do you see a guy hit into a double play with a runner on second and nobody out?
Never. Well, that's hard to do.
That happened last night. Jarren Duran leads off the top of the 5th with a double. He's on second. Abraham Toro, the number 2 hitter, hits a ground ball to shortstop in front of Duran.
Excuse me, who's the number 2 hitter?
Abraham Toro, exactly. Right. Toro, a left-handed hitter, hits a ground ball to shortstop in front of Duran. Somehow Duran wanders far enough off of second base, gets caught in a rundown, and is tagged out. That's 1. Toro thinks he's going to be cute and makes a mad dash for second base. He is tagged out. That's 2, but that isn't the end of the story. Alex Cora is so upset, he thinks that Toro, trying to make second base, had the base blocked by the infielder, Luis Rengifo. He goes out and argues and gets thrown out of the game. So, with a runner on second and nobody out in the 5th inning, the Red Sox hit into a double play and lose their manager. That was on top of running into an out in the 1st inning. The Red Sox are the worst fundamental team I have ever seen in my life. They do nothing well. All the little things, awful. They can't run bases. They can't field the ball. Their starting pitching, again, outside of Garrett Crochet, is suspect to say the least. It's a miracle that they are a 500 team, in my opinion. But this is what happens to them, and that's what happened last night.
I'm just so glad that they got rid of Rafi Devers so they could be greater than the sum of their parts.
Amazing.
Because it's really coming together here. And I say this, again, as someone who will not elaborate, but is, like Wallach, still aggrieved at that trade and upset at the Red Sox because none of the explanations that they offered helped. And I look and go, yeah, the rotation's still an issue, and so is the offense. And these mistakes that you make ruin all margin for error. So to me,
they make at least one error a night.
It's coaching, development, base running. I don't know if Alex Cora is getting tossed on purpose now so he doesn't have to watch the rest of the game. It's happened in San Francisco. That's what I would be doing personally for some of these that get out of hand, because the Angels are a poverty franchise. They spend money but rank right there with the A's and the Rockies and the Nationals in terms of dysfunction. You talk about lesser than the sum of their parts. They get no bang for their buck, except for when you hand it to them, as the Red Sox did last night.
I love Maz's take on this, and it's one that he's had for years, and it applies so perfectly to this team right now. You can't fix stupid, and they're just stupid.
Yep.
Like stupid base running, stupid trades, stupid moves, stupid. If you've got just stupidity that is infected and permeated all aspects of the team, how do you fix it? You don't. You just have to reset at some point, and it's got to be like a wholesale change out from like the top down. It's so bad. And to your point, Wallach, how they managed to be 500? Oh, they don't flat out suck. They still have guys who can play, but they're so dumb. They're so dumb.
And here's the thing. We could blame a lot of the mistakes on the younger guys. They've suddenly become one of the younger teams in the league. Abraham Toro, last night's star at second base, is 28 years old.
Yeah.
He'll be 29 at the end of the year. That's not a young, stupid player mistake.
No.
He's a utility infielder, like the Romy Gonzalez's. These are the guys who have been utility infielders. Rob Refsnyder's been nothing better than a fourth outfielder for most of his career, but he can hit left-handed pitching, so he'll lead off for you in San Francisco on Sunday. This is what they are, and it's not getting any better. There's no trade between now and the deadline that makes them better, unless they somehow flip the roster. There's no chance.
Well, you're just counting on internal
better.
growth. Like Robin Anthony is what everyone wants him to be ASAP instead of next year. Marcelo Meyer, same deal.
Yeah.
All these guys.
You're hoping that the 22-year-old kids immediately get better in the next 2 months. Good luck.
All right. Well, it's going to be hot today. I don't know if you guys have seen anything on the news about the heat, but this begs several questions that we will address next. We're going to get your opinions on these matters, Andrew. As you are in for Fred today here on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way on the Sports Hub.
Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Well, while you were sleeping last night, Brad Stevens was busy. The Celtics traded Drew Holiday to Portland in an effort to try and begin to shed salary. In return, they got back Anthony Simons and a pair of second-round draft picks. Simons has 1 year left on his contract. He scored 19 points a game last season, and the move will save the Celtics between $5 and $7 million in payroll. Indiana Pacers star Tyrese Halliburton underwent surgery on his right Achilles yesterday. Red Sox lost to the Angels late last night, 9-5 on the West Coast. The Angels snapped the 5-5 tie with 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Walker Buehler struggled again. He allowed 5 runs over 4 innings of work. Sox have lost 3 in a row. They play the Angels again tonight. The Bruins have re-signed defenseman Mason Lowry to a 2-year, $6.4 million contract extension. And the Hockey Hall of Fame will announce its class of 2025 this afternoon. Former Bruins captain Zdeno Chara and Joe Thornton are first-time eligibles, along with former Bruins goaltender Tuukka Rask. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Green Home. If you've got mold or funky odors creeping around your home or office, don't mess around. Visit greenhomesolutions.com or .com/Boston to book your free consultation today. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Or who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app. The 98.5 The Sports Hub app.
Hey, listen, if you've got to go, we understand, but make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
On the Sports Hub.
The Sports Hub, Fred out sick, so Andrew Callahan is here. You're welcome to join us as we get into the topic of the day, which everyone is going to be talking about this today. And I just learned something from our own Ryan Beaton, whose home is currently without central air conditioning.
Oh, God.
Any room air conditioners in the home, Ryan Beaton?
My brother went out yesterday and bought like 2 massive units that we could like put on the floor of like 2 of our bedrooms.
Okay.
But that's about like all we got going for us right now.
How many people in your home?
4.
Okay. So you have 2 like essentially just like room units that you're going to put in the bedrooms specifically?
Yeah, we just closed the doors and like the windows and everything, and just those are the only 2 rooms in the house that are cold right now.
So do you sleep in the same bedroom with your brother?
No, last night I was like I sleep in the basement, so it was actually cool enough that like it was good last night, but tonight it's just going to be a different story. It's going to be like 81 degrees at night.
Do you want to just stay here? Just camp out right there?
I probably should sleep here.
I'm going to
honestly.
work tomorrow.
Dude, I told him, I said you should like go to like 3 movies today. I don't know what else to do. Like what is your best escape from the heat if you don't have air conditioning? What's the best place? Where's the best place to go?
Movie's a great one. I think people will say pool. I think if we're being honest, you have to be in the water when it's this hot, right? Because as soon as you step outside, your feet are melting into the concrete or whatever's around the pool.
It's just like it's going to be oppressive today. It's going to be 100, and then the heat index is. What are they saying for the heat index? Heat index in and around Boston.
147.
Yeah, seriously.
You know where I'm going.
Oh.
Went there yesterday after the show. Going there today. Getting a nice little swim in before the real heat of the day comes in around noontime.
I saw a guy yesterday. And I was driving back from essentially Jamaica Plain back to Canton. So I'm doing the cut through in this weird area in between like West Roxbury and Hyde Park. There's like a lot of woods. I think it's called the Enneking Parkway that kind of takes you through there. And I saw a guy walking back to his car in bathing trunks and flip-flops. And he was pulled off to the side of the road. Now, again, this is like Hyde Park area, right? I know of no official recreational swimming spots in the area. I lived in that area for a long time. There is nowhere to swim. This guy had been swimming somewhere along there. That worries me. If people are just like
in their bathtubs?
No, I think like a pond in the woods. I think this guy had gone swimming. And it wasn't like he wasn't homeless or anything.
Did he have like algae underneath his sandal as you would toilet paper coming out of the bathroom? You're like, this is not good for anybody, especially whomever he's going home to.
It was like in a Subaru. I'm like, it could have been 12.
Right,
I know.
You gotta watch for the Subarus.
I meant to look earlier. It's like I got to check. It's like, did I miss like a pond? That, like an old swimming hole or something like that. All right.
What are you going to do to beat the heat? I mean, if Beaton has no AC, are you going to the movies if you're him?
Well, I had a wonderful delivery take place yesterday. Talk about timing. New cover for the hot tub, because who doesn't want to soak, in this type of weather? So my plan today is to drain the hot tub. I have a new cover lifter for the hot tub, which has to be placed underneath the hot tub, so it has to be drained. It has to be lifted. I think it will be a matter of just lifting it off the ground, but there could be pries or jacks employed, depending on how heavy this thing ends up being. And once I get it drained, refilled, and up to temperature, I like to keep about 104. That's going to feel like a cold plunge. So I think I'll get in the hot tub later to cool off. Think about that. 104 degrees should be cooler than the feels like temperature outside.
You're going to pass out.
No, I'm going to be. Let me tell you, it's a great.
This is your last show. Yeah. I'm really glad to be a part of it.
You know what? You're going to be here again tomorrow.
You're going to be that rabbit that you threw into the woods and didn't bury. Just in your hot tub.
You're going to smell just as good, too.
I think it's a really good project for a day like today to clean the hot tub, because you got to spray, spray it and scrub it down, and you get, very wet while you're doing it, and there's, water splashing back on you, but it'll be cold water coming out of the hose. I think
is this in slow motion?
It's a good project.
No, this is a different movie.
No.
If you're going to do that, you better start pounding water now, because if you're going to be outside for more than 15 minutes today, you got to be drinking a quart of water between now and then, man.
No, you know me. I don't do the water.
You're insane.
So there is a
insane.
There is a pond. Look at this. I'm looking at it right now. I've driven past this thing.
Where is this?
And who's looking?
I might need a Walden alternative if the parking fills up.
All right. The Mill Pond Reservation. I bet that's where that guy was. This may be part of the. Is it part of the Charles River system? No, it's something else.
Interesting.
No, okay.
Where is it located? Like, what town is it located in? Is it in Jamaica Plain? Is it in Hyde Park?
I believe I was in Hyde Park.
Okay.
When I passed this guy.
Huh.
Maybe he was swimming in Stony Brook. Man, it was weird. All right, so that's number one. At the risk of offending T-Bone, though, and this will be offensive not only to him but to Mark Bertrand and to Scott Zolak.
Wait, they were already offended yesterday. What, are you sure you want to poke the bear again?
I will run the risk of doing this. Yesterday, Beetle and Zoe came in very, very hot because we were talking about Scott Zolak, who last week had an incident that he described as a Honeypot Hill situation.
We got a Honeypot Hill situation.
Yeah, where he had to leave the show immediately because he had to go make in the bathroom. And this harkened back to a time when he was driving in the area of like Stowe, Mass., and had to go really bad. And the only place he found was the Honeypot Hill Orchard. Pulled into the gravel parking lot, ran past two employees, asked if they sold pies for whatever reason, because he needed an excuse to go into the store, used their bathroom, left, saw that the window to the bathroom was open, and there were two women sitting outside, directly outside the bathroom that he had just destroyed. And but we talked
Didn't
about...
buy a pie.
No, and there was no purchase of any pie to our understanding. But he also do you have the clip that I sent to you yesterday? Oh, I've got it right here. This led to this situation here too.
If QC Kinetics a shot, it's regenerative medicine. They take your own body's healing agents, put them right back into your body. So book your appointment today. QC Kinetics, 617-644.
It's still great every time I hear it.
Has anyone pointed out that the ad he's reading talks about putting something back into your body and 5 seconds left, the comedic timing of him projectile vomiting on the wall?
QC Kinetics, I, from everything I understand, fantastic product and service. No commentary on them is necessary. Really unfortunate.
Really keeps in your body.
Right. Yeah, that was pointed out, number one. But when we played that yesterday, Wallach reacted to it in such a way that, because he had never heard it before. Zoe and Beetle came in all pissed off. How dare you either lie and say you've never heard that before. They weren't pissed that we played it. They were pissed that Wallach had never heard it before because it's been played so much on the midday show, and that meant that Wallach doesn't listen to the midday show.
I hadn't heard it either.
All right, thank you. And Beetle back
and you're on the midday show a lot.
No, not a lot. I think they just holidays. Christmas Eve,
Is that
Memorial
it?
Day. Yeah.
Oh.
A couple times.
Okay.
I enjoy it, though.
All right. So, whatever. They're already angry. But at the risk of angering them even further, especially T-Bone, who's very protective over Zolak and Bertrand content, as well he should be. This does bring up a great this or that. And I was there for the inception of this or that, so I feel like it's a little okay to talk about this one specific Heat-related this or that, which is, and it's a multiple this or that. This is like two stats and a lie on Swole, because we're going to have multiple versions of this.
I'll be the judge of that.
All right, if you're looking for a place to cool off today, are you, number one, ocean or pool? Are you beach or pool?
Beach.
See, I go pool. I want the chemicals. I want that chlorine smell on me.
So it's not about
You're
the
such
heat
a
then.
gross out,
it's
Hardy.
just the random
You
unnatural
being
cologne.
clean. Yeah, that's all this is.
It's
Again,
actually
to borrow
cooler.
from Zolak, and if you're treating your own pool, you can just shove your hand into that bucket of chlorine, rub your hands together, rub it through your hair, and get that beautiful summer bleach going.
This sounds like the people during the pandemic who were washing their hands with vodka, being like, "Yeah, this is probably good enough. 60 proof, whatever." No, give me the beach. I get the sand thing. Not a huge beach guy. It is literally cooler.
You're not a huge beach guy, but you're taking the beach over the pool.
Yes, because at this type of heat, once I get in the water, I can't leave. My feet are going to melt and stick to whatever I'm walking around there. And as I just said, it's cooler with the actual breeze coming off of the ocean. And I've got more room to swim around. And once I want to leave, I'm not going to stay on the beach. I'm going to go.
Sharks. That bother you at all? Oh, good. You get in the water and now you can't leave. Wait, out there with
Sharks
the
know
sharks.
to stay away from me.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
not up where I go. In Maine, the water's plenty cold. So no sharks where I am.
All right.
Believe me. And
They're
he's
coming,
right.
though.
The offshore breeze, I'm telling you. It actually is a great cooling factor, and you can leave when you want to. There's
what
a lot
else?
of room to swim around.
leave to where? You have to bring like structures out onto the beach with you if you want to escape the sun. You got to set up tents and canopies and
I'm
umbrellas
more than
and everything
willing
else.
to do that. You're going to be much cooler than you are sitting next to a pool.
Hardy, you can keep all of the kid pee to yourself in that pool. Please enjoy. I'll be in the ocean where everything floats away and nobody pees.
With all the whale pee. That's gross.
Yeah.
You ever tried whale pee?
No.
It's great healing.
What am I
properties.
missing out on?
I don't think
All
that's close.
All right. And again, I can see T-Bone in his car right now, seething as I do this, because these are this or that's we've done before. At least I'm not doing the original, the OG this or that, which is Cheez-Its or Goldfish.
Goldfish.
Yeah, don't
Cheez-Its.
don't even.
Cheez-Its.
Are you seriously? You want T-Bone to come in here and just?
He's already
kick all your
angry. What
asses?
difference does it make?
But another.
You kept your stock in this or that.
Another OG this or that. If you're going beach, are you going ocean or lake? Yeah, right.
Ocean still.
Yeah,
I mean,
ocean.
when you've got Winnipesaukee and you've got some other options.
Never really done the lake beach. Done the lake house.
I mean,
a few times.
Lake Beach, I think, is almost a contradiction in terms it's not really a beach.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something resembling sand. Sometimes it's just kind of dirt, but you get that.
Yeah,
But
and it's right. It's not. You have the large drop off in some places.
It's just a
not the
place
gradual decline.
It's a place to rest between swims.
Yeah, 12. You're not selling me on this.
That's okay.
no sharks.
More from me.
No sharks. All right. People have answers to my question about where people were swimming or that dude that I saw swimming yesterday, Dalton, who's in Dedham. Dalton, do you know where I'm talking about? Off of it was either Turtle Pond or Enneking Parkway yesterday.
Yeah, it's actually right on the Dedham line. I'm right off the Parker right there. It's literally High Park Dedham line. So yeah, there's actually a dock there that people actually hang out there and tan and everything. I don't know if the water's clean. I can't vouch for that, but people are going to be there lined up today. I can tell you that.
You know what? Now that I just said it out loud, I said it's Turtle Pond Parkway. I think is around there. Turtle Pond.
Yeah,
duh.
exactly.
It's right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I never knew. Huh. I could have been swimming in Turtle Pond this whole time. Who knew? Well, I'm not going to, but I suppose I could. I just one more thing about the pool beach situation.
Yeah.
You're willing to carry all your stuff down there for any kind of shelter and stuff when you're going to the beach. You got no problem with that? Setting up an encampment and doing all that?
So I don't have kids yet. I think in a couple of years, it's going to be a different answer. For now, though, I pack light. I got a cooler. I've got a towel.
I got a snack bar at the pool. Go ahead.
Maybe a chair.
They got towels.
Oh, they charge you?
They got towels for you at the pool. Go ahead.
Can you drink at the pool?
Yes. No, there's no drinking allowed there. I mean, I don't drink, but yes, that's kind of the point. There are some people, believe it or not, who go to the pool and never get in the water. It is, and again, shocking in these parts. It's an excuse to drink. This whole activity of going to the pool.
If you don't get in the water, how do you cool off? Which is where this
I
conversation
don't know. Those
started.
are those people.
You said, where do you go to cool off? That doesn't sound like you're cooling off.
And Andrew brought up the drinking part of it. So I'm answering him. Yes, you can drink at the pool.
Like family pools that will have signs that say no roughhousing, no splashing, no diving, no
where,
alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, where my son works, there's no alcoholic beverages there. That's a town pool.
No fans either.
Other pools you can drink. Of course you can drink. I don't know if you're supposed to be drinking on the beach, whatever beach you go to.
That's why you got a cup.
All right.
Koozie.
All right. We will be joined by. Is Brian Robb going to be on the show?
Brian Robb's confirmed for 8:25.
All right, good. Brian Robb. All right, good.
We're going to start here with Brian Robb.
No. What we're going to do is we're going to pick Andrew Callahan's football brain, and we will do that next here on Toucher and Hardy. Hold on.
I like Cheez-Its, too.
No Fred this morning here on Toucher and Hardy, but Andrew Callahan is here, which is great because he's not only not done covering the Celtics and the NBA, but I mean, you are known as the Patriots guy, or one of the Patriots guys at the Herald. Is that fair, Andrew?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Me and my guy, Doug Hyde.
Okay. So as the Patriots are getting closer and closer to the start of camp, we've seen and heard plenty about Drake May and what his expectations for the coming year, and how he looked at the beginning during the voluntary workouts, during the minis that we've been through so far. From what you've seen and what you've heard, does it look like there is a progression in place? Because I was, again, one of the few wins I've chalked up over the years in trying to predict things. I was at the very least said pump the brakes on Mac Jones automatically being better year 2. That was kind of my thing. And it seems so obvious now.
Right.
Based on what happened with that team in Mac Jones' second year. But in order to be fair, in order to be consistent, I have to say the same thing about Drake May. I have to say, let's see. So far, what have you seen?
Progression. And just to get ahead of anyone considering what you just proposed, is this going to be Mac Jones year 2? Could that happen to Drake May? Yeah, sure, it could happen. But when you look at the people around him, players, coaches, I mean, pick any position on offense and go, did this get better? Did this get worse? You would almost universally, including and especially the offensive coordinator, say better. Back when that was Mac Jones, going into year 2, his offensive line got worse. His receiving core got worse. The offensive line coach and offensive coordinator all plummeted. So I don't have the same concerns here with Drake May. If you were concerned, though, it would just be a matter of timing because of all of the moving parts here. And you did see a guy who we all freaked out for a week that he threw 4 interceptions. Oh, my God. And then the next time the media got to go, no interceptions. And it wasn't this tremendous amount of progress, but it was better. And the third OTA was his best yet. And minicamp had a very good day 1. Day 2 wasn't as great. But it's also a great time to remind everybody that, like, the coaches tell them, hey, if you're going to F up, do it right here. And his one pick that he had on the last day of minicamp was right in front of me. They were practicing in the bubble because it was raining out. And he throws this ball to Kyle Williams, who's guarded by Christian Gonzalez. If for whatever reason Kyle Williams was guarded by another corner of Christian Gonzalez's caliber in a game, he's not going to throw up a go ball and be like, well, I hope he gets it. He's going to go somewhere else because there's a better matchup. So when we put it down as Drake May threw a pick, that's him giving a rookie receiver who they might really need a chance against a guy who's going to be an all-pro this year. And you go, oh, Drake May threw an interception. Well, you can't find out what Kyle Williams can do if he doesn't give him a chance. And that's what that play was just giving him a chance.
In terms of Josh McDaniels and kind of getting his bearings with Josh in that offense, we know that it can be difficult for receivers. What is your gut telling you about Drake May and his ability to work within the Josh McDaniels system?
I'm confident, and even you go back to the Mac Jones year, right? That was his rookie season, and he was at the controls, making checks, calls, audibles. I mean, you could see it, you could hear it on the game broadcast. Drake May hasn't had quite that same demonstrable command where I could tell you, oh, I heard him barking out this audible and that. But again, it's spring. I think we'll really start to tell once they get into the second, third week of practice where the defense will go, okay, we've seen these plays before. We know what's coming. But as far as I can tell, no, there's not a whole lot of difficulty for Drake May picking up the system. Obviously, there's more to be done. But the thing, Hardy, I would say is less the X's and O's. It's more of just the attitude, right? Like what Josh McDaniels has tried to instill in Drake May this spring is take the first receiver that's open. If it's open, throw it to him. His whole operation last year, especially towards the end of the season, was I got to do everything. I got to wait, and I got to create. And that's going to be probably a hard habit, which you also saw in North Carolina, to get and pull out of him. But the more that you see him taking his first read, if it's open, that to me says as much about his command of the offense as it does his understanding that this is the way that you run it.
Okay. Of course, there was a ton of conversation about Will Campbell and his capabilities coming in. Where do you think he's going to end up playing? How has he looked so far?
Left tackle, that's where he was all spring. I would be shocked if he's not there week 1. And then Max Crosby, who's, freaking whatever time Pro Bowler, but also has a fearsome long arm, straight arm move, which is going to be hard for Will Campbell, as we well documented, to handle with his shorter arms. But, this is another player, especially any offensive lineman, defensive lineman throw in there too. You can't really evaluate till they have the pads on. But the fact that the coaches were this definitive and confident, like the depth chart in the spring is the biggest thing, and what he was on the depth chart, first team left tackle every single snap of every team period.
Okay. I thought that was going to be the case. I thought that was going to be what they were, if not forced into doing, but what would end up being the best option for them anyway. But it will look remarkably different once the pads are on and he's going up against an opposition that is looking to exploit whatever deficiencies he might have.
Shortcomings, maybe.
The T-Rex arms. That's what they are. But
just as a rookie even,
Yes, and rookie offensive linemen categorically stink. Like, this is something that, the rookie receivers take off now because all of these kids going back to middle school and sometimes even earlier are in 7-on-7s right away. You're running routes. You're understanding the nuances of how you want to separate in a post versus a corner or a post corner or corner post. The offensive linemen don't get to put on pads and do all the things they would at the pro level until you really get to high school and then on. And then even those reps, depending on the system you're running in college, sometimes they're splits, meaning the distance from the left tackle to left guard is twice as far as it will be in the pros. So you're running totally different techniques and fundamentals than you would in the league. The point is, Will Campbell will need more reps than I think other rookies who went in the first round did and play receiver. And that's why it's going to take some growing pains.
How much rope do you think they will give him? I understand he's
the
future. That's the thing. He's going to look bad. It's inevitable. You mentioned facing Max Crosby week 1. He's going to really look bad on a couple of those reps. He's going to get beat, and May's going to get T-boned there in the backfield. If he struggles in the first half of a game, gives up a couple of sacks and a couple of pressures, are they going to keep him out there?
Yeah, I do, Wallach, because part of the reason they took Will Campbell is his recovery. And when I say that, I mean two things. Number one is when Mike Vrabel went to work him out, the day that Will Campbell cemented himself as the number 4 pick, Mike Vrabel specifically went after his arm length. Like all of the tricks he used as a player, I'm only doing these things if I know the scouting report says you have short arms. And what they like about Will, understanding that a lot of left tackles in the league are going to struggle against players like Max Crosby. What's your plan B? When you lose right away, can you recover? Can you stop him? Number 2 recovery is also the mental bounce back. And that was the thing that I asked Mike Vrabel before the draft, saying, hey, what did you learn in Tennessee when you're taking first-round picks, and what are those lessons you're going to apply here? He said one of them, it's really, really important that this guy can shoulder the weight of being the 4th-round pick and a rookie that's going to fail under the weight of those expectations. What do you do next? So they're really comfortable with his ability to bounce back, but that doesn't mean he might not give up 4 or 5 sacks, because even some of the best offensive tackles in the league, I've given this example a million times, Andrew Thomas of the Giants, top 10 pick 4 or 5 years ago. Disaster. Like, could not play him. Now he's one of the best in the league. It just takes time.
Unfortunately, it might come at the expense of your quarterback, who the entire franchise hangs on offensively here for the next 3 years. But no big deal. No big deal.
Well, and here's the other part, though. And so this is like, yes, that will suck. This isn't to be like, 6 sacks, Will Campbell, that's fine, rookie. Like, if that happens, I'll be here Tuesdays and telling you he screwed up. This is bad. Maybe they should bench him. But what they have now in Josh McDaniels that I think will help in a way that they didn't with Alex Van Pelt is a guy who's used to designing and installing and calling quick passing game to offset all of those issues. Like, it wasn't just that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, had a really quick release. It was Josh McDaniels understood how to design plays and call them and rehearse them to make sure that they could beat pressure that came within 2.5 seconds. Because the Patriots allowed the most quick pressure out of any team in the league last year. And I think had Josh McDaniels been the offensive coordinator instead of Alex Van Pelt, who was bombs away, play action, which can work if you have a good offensive line. The Patriots didn't. They would have been better off a year ago had he been here. But he wasn't.
You're assuming the wide receivers they have can get open quick enough to deliver the football fast.
It's
so
fair point. But Pop Douglas, Stephon Diggs, like if Diggs is ready week 1, do you feel at least okay about that?
Well, does the team feel okay about Stephon Diggs right now? Where are they at?
They're okay. They were not happy about the video, which we all talked about. I think they were happy with the way that he handled the press conference. And that's his prerogative to be like, I'm not going to tell you anything about that.
Well, he's been in the league for 10 years. We know that.
Yeah, knows how to handle himself.
He's not gonna fall victim, and he's not going to fall into your tricky question traps. It's like they weren't traps. It's just, what do you think? What are you doing? No, I've been in the league for 10 years. Yeah, so what are you doing? You've been in the league a long time. What are you doing?
Yeah. And that what I think is the conversation that he probably, this is not reporting with Vrabel, of like, look, man, we were all out in a boat or close to it or a lake beach or whatever, a Memorial Day. Not all of us got filmed getting tanked or whatever was going on in that boat. Be smarter about the people that you're with. This isn't even a, substance thing, which it certainly could be and should be. But secondary to that, if you've been in the league 10 years, you know who you need to keep around you. And more importantly, maybe the people that you shouldn't keep around you. I think that was probably the conversation.
Yeah, because
it's stupid.
I can see this, damaging an already delicate relationship with his head coach before things even get started here. And how much of the success of a wide receiver like Stephon Diggs depends on his mood and his attitude? Because we know what the talent level is, and I'm not overstating it. Certainly should be the best receiver on this team. Wouldn't be the best receiver on a lot of teams, but he is the guy. You mentioned him in tandem with Pop Douglas. Those are the two guys that Drake May is going to have at his disposal. If there's in any way an attitude or a relationship issue between Diggs and Vrabel or the rest of the team because of this, well, a lot of these W's that we're thinking about and, circling on the calendar for a pretty soft schedule for the Patriots, you can throw them out the window right now because we've seen, what happens when you put Drake May in with a bunch of just average to below average receivers. It's not nearly anywhere near enough unless you plan on winning every game 6-0.
Yeah, and I will say the offensive line is still a bigger issue to me than the receivers. Like there's very few ways to work around a bad offensive line, and especially when they don't run block, which they were just as bad run blocking last year as they were in pass protection. The receivers you can kind of work around for a little bit, and especially if the quarterback has more time, which then gives the receivers more time to separate. The Diggs thing, I'll just dismount and say this: I hope to God I'm not doing this in January and sitting here talking about it with you guys. But let's just say for the 4th year in a row, I have to write a "What the F happened" story here with Doug Hyde recapping. Like that Diggs incident is going to be somewhere in the beginning, and I am not saying that it will be. I think the Patriots are going to have a very good season. I'm excited. Everyone who's optimistic deserves to feel that way. But if things go south, that'll be mentioned in here. I will also add to that, I think it's been so long since the Patriots had a receiver like him, you kind of forget that this is part of the package. Like, stuff like this. Headache,
had
distraction.
a diva for a while. That's
right.
true.
It just goes with the position. And it also is a reminder, as Doug and I reported from the Combine in late February, early March, he wasn't their plan A. He wasn't their plan B. Like, he's at best their plan C, and this is part of their experience. But they've moved through it. And I think, honestly, if you wanted to get strike one out of the way, you do it this early. Be like, look, strike two is going to result in some sort of punishment. That's not just you have to talk to the media for 10 minutes.
All right. We will continue. Andrew has 2 stats and a lie for us this morning. Are we going to do both?
You got 4 stats and 2 lies. So this is up to you. You missed last week's. So if you whatever you want to do.
Let's not do them all at once, though. I don't think we should do 4 stats, 2 lies, and identify the 2 lies.
Well, we got B-Rob at 8:20, so we can break it up.
Here's the upside if we do them both. You could take the lead on Wallach in the offseason standings. Because he's ahead of you. He's up 1 right now. He's 1-0. You were 0-0.
I will absolutely do them both today. I don't want to do them at once, though. Yeah, I don't want you to present us with 6 quote-unquote facts and then pick out the 2 lies within those.
It's too much for Hardy to write down.
Can you imagine how Fred would be today if we did it like that?
No.
What we were thinking about doing is having 2 lies and a stat and really messing with him.
If he weren't already...
Did he talk himself out of it last week?
I don't remember. It was dizzying watching him. I don't remember.
All right. Well, we have until 8 o'clock to get ready for it, Wallach. So stay with us here. Here are the headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by.
There you have it. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Hub.
Marco Sturm news after that? No?
Nope.
I can't remember what day it happened.
I feel like that was almost 2 weeks ago.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. It was a long time ago. Okay. But now the committee will meet today for the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is not an NHL Hall of Fame. It is a Hockey Hall of Fame, much like it is a Basketball Hall of Fame, right?
Yep.
So anybody can get in. So there are some obvious NHL players who are eligible for induction this year. I despise 90% of Hall of Fame talk, but let's give it a shot anyway. All right? And you can just say in or out or any other thoughts you have, starting with Zdeno Chara.
First ballot, yes.
And absolutely in. Do you know his first year in the league?
Oh, man. What year is this? 99, 98?
That would have been my guess.
7.
97?
Jesus. Wow.
It's okay. So yes, Zdeno Chara. And I'm gonna pick and choose here because my Hall of Fame thoughts and opinions are so skewed toward two things. Number one, do I know or care who this person is? And B, again, this is a T-Boneism. Can you tell the story of blank sport without mentioning this person's name? And if the answer is no, then they belong in the Hall of Fame. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And not for nefarious reasons either. Okay? I'm not saying Aaron Hernandez belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's obviously a big story in football. But can you tell the story of hockey without mentioning Duncan Keith?
Yes.
So, Duncan Keith in the Hall of Fame, yes or no?
No.
See, I would go no on Duncan Keith also.
The interesting one, though, to me, because it's split, believe it or not, is first-time eligible Tuukka Rask.
Okay, so I was going to go back-to-back with two goaltenders, Carey Price and Tuukka Rask. Carey Price, Hall of Fame?
I'm leaning towards yes, because that guy won the Vezina and the MVP in the same season.
And since it is a Hockey Hall of Fame, an Olympic gold medalist, obviously playing for Team Canada. So, there's a lot of guys who have a gold medal in hockey playing for Team Canada who aren't going to make the Hall of Fame. But if you're just talking about his accolades, you can make a case for Carey Price. Tuukka Rask, I say no.
I agree.
He doesn't pass the smell test you were just talking about. Like 5 seconds, what do you think? Automatically, you don't say yes, you say no. But I think he might be one of those guys. You read some of the stuff from the guys up in Canada, like Elliot Friedman and Darren Dreger, and they seem to think that eventually he may get in. He's a Vezina Trophy winner. His playoff stats, goals against wise, are better than his regular season stats. He's the Bruins' career leader in wins and goal in net. I mean, his goals against are very, very good. He had over 50 career shutouts. These, if you just think Tuukka Rask immediately without looking at anything, you go absolutely not. But then you begin to look at the numbers, and you find ways to say, oh yeah, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
So,
not first ballot, but somewhere down the road, maybe he gets in.
Longevity plays a part, and 15-year career. However, with goalies, we all know that if you're coming in, you're almost certainly going to be a backup when you come in, and. It's with the Bruins since 2007. I forgot about that. Well, don't forget it was Tim Thomas also. So you can't let that skew you. And it's weird for as good as he is and all the numbers that John just mentioned and the fact that he took you to he does have a ring from 2011, but he was your goaltender for 2 more Cup finals and all the wins and all the shutouts and all the great hockey that he played. I argue that you can not only tell the story of hockey without mentioning Tuukka Rask, you can almost tell the story of the Bruins without mentioning Tuukka Rask. Because at the end of his career, as good as he was and for as solid as he was in net, when you come up short in the ultimate moment, the story isn't that great. And
but isn't that the story though? Like I agree with you.
But you don't get in the Hall of Fame for it.
No, right. But the point is, if you're telling the story of the Bruins, why did they lose both of those finals? I think detractors would certainly start with Tuukka Rask, right? If you're on the other side of that argument. Like, all the stats are cool. What about the winning when you have the most influence over the outcome in a Game 7, frankly, if you're just a stone wall? Let me ask you this, though, because
there's a lot of ironies there. By the way, the reason why you lost in 19 to St. Louis is as much on a guy who is celebrating down in South Florida right now.
Line change.
For a really lazy line change that led to a goal against St. Louis in Game 7. But, that's part of the story, too. Now, Brad Marchand, I say you can't tell the story of the Bruins, certainly without Brad Marchand, and now he's cemented himself as a guy who's going to go into the Hall of Fame also, I believe. But that part of it kind of gets brushed aside now. So now it's a reason to include Tuukka Rask in the Hall of Fame conversation?
All-Stars.
For falling short in 2 Stanley Cup finals?
As I said, before you look at the numbers, immediately you say no, but the people that do the voting, and I don't know if they're the same as the Baseball Hall of Fame writers who love themselves some numbers and talk themselves into things, but if the hockey writers are like that, you look at Rask's numbers, and there is a case to be made for maybe. That's all I'm saying. At the moment, would lean no.
Tell me, non-hockey guy, how heavily all-star appearances are weighted. Like, I look at Tuukka Rask, pulling up just the most basic thing I could do. Hockey Reference page is a 2-time all-star. And Duncan Keith was only a 3-time all-star. Is that low for most of the guys going into the Hall? Is it about on par?
You just mentioned one of my top 3 of one of the other top 3 conversations I have no interest in. All-Star, Hall of Fame.
I mean, we're doing the segment, though.
And most drafts.
I didn't pick the segment.
Hockey, look, it's like hockey.
Because that would be low for football. It'd be low for basketball.
Yeah.
It'd be low for baseball.
Yeah,
it might be.
The way
Even for
things are
basketball.
set up now, it's just you have, 3-on-3 all-star game tournaments, and I think the all-star nod has been devalued somewhat.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. How's
okay.
that? I don't know.
In other words, I don't care. It's time to go to break. That's what that is.
By the way, for the goalies who are eligible this year, for Ryan Miller, for Carey Price, there was another one here. Pekka Rinne. Their comps, according to NHL.com, they're already in the Hall of Fame comparable is the same guy, Henrik Lundqvist. That's who the comp is. Like, all right, well, if your comp is Lundqvist, get it.
Rask's a little different, if I remember right.
Rask was not Lundqvist.
No, it was not. I think it was like Tom Barrasso or
Tom
something.
Barrasso, very good one.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I know.
I don't know.
As I said, far from a slam dunk, but there's maybe a case to be made down the road. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know if he's getting in.
It doesn't sound like it.
The comp isn't as good as these other guys.
I'm going to answer my own question really quickly. Lundqvist was only a 2-time All-Star, and I think obviously part of that is positional scarcity, right? One goalie, maybe 1 or 2 spots.
Yeah.
Carey Price, 1-time All-Star, which, again, shocked, casual hockey fan here, shocked me, given how good I know he was rooting against him for all those years when he was in Montreal.
Carey Price.
So who was going to the All-Star game as a goalie in all the years where Lundqvist could have been going? Was it Hasek? Was it Wah? Who was getting his spot?
Lundqvist was in New York for a while with the Rangers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know off the top of my head.
All right. Well, this was fun. All right. 2 stats and a lie will be fun. We'll do that next here on Toucher and Hardy.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the
expiring contract. He averaged 19 points a game last season. In other NBA news, the first round of the draft will take place tomorrow night. Indiana star Tyrese Halliburton underwent surgery on his right Achilles yesterday. Red Sox are 3-4 on their West Coast road trip. They lost to the Angels 9-5 late last night. The Angels scored 4 times in the bottom of the 8th for the win. Red Sox have lost 3 in a row. They play the Angels again tonight. The Bruins have re-signed defenseman Mason Lowrider with 2-year, $6.4 million contract extension. And the Hockey Hall of Fame is expected to announce its class of 2025 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time today. Former Bruins captain Zdeno Chara is a first-time eligible, along with Tuukka Rask and Joe Thornton. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Eastern Massachusetts' leader in drain cleaning and pipelining. Drains by James. Slow drain, clogged drain. You need to contact Drains by James today at drainsbyjames.com. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
And that is the way that the Bruins season will end.
In Game 6, New York 119, Boston 81.
The Bruins and Celtics face off seasons full of question. Who stays, who's traded, who's drafted, and what it all means for next season. We've got it covered. And you can talk about it here. Boston's Home for Sports, the Sports Hub.
You said you wanted to hear more music in the morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
No, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Which brings me, though, to my 2 stats and a lie. 2 of these stats are obviously the truth. One is a lie. Some imaging with this would be fun.
Andrew Callahan filling in for Fred Toucher this morning, which means we get two stats and a lie. I think we'll probably just do the one here because we're going to be smart about this. Somebody emailed me, by the way, and said...
That's next hour.
What? No, it's 2 stats and a lie related. If you remember on the Vrabel stat last week, Andrew offered to provide one of the numbers, sacks or wins, to which John asked for sacks, which Andrew said I think was 57. Fred spent his entire time out loud internal dialogue saying he didn't think Vrabel had a lot of sacks as a player, completely ignoring the fact Andrew gave the number not 10 seconds earlier.
Yep. I told you. My man just unravels.
It was actually really annoying to listen to, and I bet if Hardy was there, he would have caught it and rightfully ripped him.
Yeah.
So the stat was – so what was the stat last week?
The Vrabel one?
Yeah.
So that was the lie. And I had said Mike Vrabel has more wins as a head coach in the regular season than he did sacks as a player. And I said I will give you the sack total or the win total. And the win total is 54. The sack total is 57.
Oh, okay. So but he said, give me the sack total, and you said 57.
Yep.
And then Fred spent the entire time saying he didn't think that was right.
He was like, it's scheme. I don't think he had that many, just a couple of years, this and that.
But I had asked for the sack total maybe 5 seconds earlier.
Oh, God.
Gotta go back to the tape on these.
All right. So we will get to a brand new 2 stats, 1 lie. Here we go.
Let's do this. It takes 2 stats from the other night. And 1 lie, see if you can get it right. It takes 2 stats from the other night. And 1 lie, see if you can get it right.
All right. 2 stats and a lie. Andrew Callahan will give us 3 quote-unquote facts. Only 2 of them are true.
So we'll start traditional 2 stats and a lie. This is a Red Sox Celtics hybrid. I have the NBA prospects 2 stats and a lie later in the show, if we want to go to. Number 1.
Don't give more information. See, already it's too much. We have to identify the lie. John.
Focus.
That's all we have to do.
Focus on what we're doing right now, Andrew. What are we doing right now?
I wrote these in Spanish, by the way, so really got to focus.
Very good.
Number 1, with 390 home runs, Mike Trout has more career homers than last night's Red Sox lineup had combined.
In their careers.
Career homers. Mike Trout, 390, more than last night's Red Sox starting lineup combined.
That seems automatically like a stat.
Number 2, after trading Drew Holiday, the Celtics still have top 3 odds to win the East next season at FanDuel. Even after trading Drew Holiday, the Celtics still have one of the 3 best odds to win the East next season at FanDuel. Number 3, the LA Angels, beat the Red Sox last night, have a higher payroll this season than the Red Sox have had the last 3 years.
Now that seems like something Wallach will maybe know off the top of his head. Now let me see if I can identify the trickery you've employed here.
The assumption being there's always trickery, which sometimes there is, sometimes there's not.
Okay. Here's what I think, and I could be totally wrong on this, but this is the first thing that popped into my head. When you said that even with the Drew Holiday trade, so this is after the fact.
These are updated odds. Yep.
The Celtics still have a top 3. They're
one of the top 3 favorites
to win the NBA title next year.
No. To win the East.
Oh, to win the
East.
Yeah.
That's what threw you.
Yeah. No. My God. I think the top 3 teams might all be from the West.
Okay. I'm still gonna say that's a lie, and here's why. My calculus is the same. I believe there will be a top team with the best odds to win. I believe there will be 2 teams with the same odds, which would be a tie for second, and the Celtics would then be 4th. So you could look like 1, 2, 3. It's like, oh, they're top. They're really not. They would be 4th.
By the definition I rolled out, this isn't to argue, but that would still be a top 3 best odds.
No, it would not.
Like it would be the 4th team.
No.
But the second and third tie would share the same number.
Well, then the entire exercise is flawed, and I think we should go home early and start cooling off.
Look, you pick whatever you want. And I'm not here to say that the reasoning isn't wrong, but by that definition, at least the way I wrote it, which I got to stick to what I wrote last night.
Wallach, you want to team up on this? Or do you want to compete against me?
No, here's...
Wallach, do you want to team up on this, or do you want to compete against me?
I'll team up with you on this one. I'll team up with you on this one.
All right. All right. Who's going to win the East next year according to FanDuel?
The Knicks. That's what I think. They're going to... Oh, no, I'm sorry. Cleveland. Sorry.
Cleveland, Knicks, Pacers. Pacers still got to be in it.
Not without Halliburton. With Halliburton's injury,
Oh,
no.
that's right. He's out for the year.
No. But Orlando just got Desmond Bane. Their odds have improved dramatically.
Yeah.
I said yesterday on the show the Celtics are in the 4-5 conversation at best. So I think that if you really want to get to it right this second, I think that number 2 is the lie.
I think number 2 is the lie also.
I'm looking at the Red Sox lineup from last night. Mike Trout absolutely has more home runs than all those guys combined. And the third one.
Okay, so from the lineup last night, here, let's do it real quick here. Let's be smart about this because we're going to team up. We're going to team up.
Duran, Toro, Roman Anthony, Trevor Story, Wilyer Abreu, Ceddanne Rafaela, Marcelo Meyer, Connor Wong, David Hamilton.
There's no way those guys combined have 390 home runs.
Now, Story has a lot. He accounts for most of them.
Right.
But there ain't no way they're 400 or better.
Okay.
No chance.
Okay. All right. So we feel number 1 is definitely a stat.
Yes.
All right. Angels payroll. The Angels payroll right now is higher than the last 3 years of Red Sox payroll.
Not combined.
John.
No.
John.
John. I want to make sure I get this wording appropriate here.
Correct.
Okay. The Angels have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on a guy like Anthony Rendon, who does not play. They have spent money, and Trout's salary is ridiculous. I think the way the Red Sox have cut payroll, and I understand that they just handed out massive new contracts to Garrett Crochet, but I still think the way the Angels have spent money over the last few years, that payroll is better than what the Red Sox have spent. So I believe I'm in agreement with you, even though we decided to team up, that 2 is the lie.
Okay. And I've got a 50-50 chance. I'm so certain that number 1 is a stat. That I like think I still want there to be some kind of a tie in the odds for the Celtics, which would give me a technical win, even if I'm wrong. So I think I've got two ways of winning this. Either number 2 is the lie, or I can make a case that it should be a lie, and I should win anyway.
We
should win
not
anyway.
you. I agreed to team up with you.
Even
here.
if the Angels Red Sox payroll thing,
I would have said 2 was
the
the lie, even if I hadn't teamed up with you. So
Okay.
2 is the lie here.
So we're going to get it either outright or on a technicality.
Okay, so this is sore loser behavior.
It's not sore loser behavior. It's
So you've already told us that we're wrong.
If I lose, it doesn't count because, well, look, this has not happened in a long time, but the answer is you guys got it.
Yeah.
No technicality, just straight up got it. There's no tie in the odds. But baking in the back door of, oh, well, if it's technically this and I still win and that's okay.
Correct.
So here's the deal. This changed overnight. Before the Drew Holiday trade, the Celtics did have the third best odds in the East, just ahead of Orlando. And if you look on DraftKings, which does not update their odds as frequently as FanDuel, this would be true. They still have the third best, but they have not updated them, so I didn't want to have that trickery. Cleveland, plus 270 to win the East. The Knicks, plus 300. The Orlando Magic,
told you,
plus 420. The Celtics, plus 550.
Yeah.
And then everyone else is longer than a 10-1 shot after them.
Orlando, that Desmond Bain trade juiced them up a little bit, and now that the Holiday's gone, I can totally see that. Cleveland and the Knicks were layups. It's just whether or not Orlando had better odds. And give me the numbers for 1 and 3 too. I'm very curious.
Mike Trout, as I said, 390 career home runs. The Red Sox
Now,
lineup
by the way, if Fred were here, it's like, I don't know if Mike Trout's got 390. That seems. I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Because I know when he got to 300, I remember where I was.
He definitely has less, so that's a lie.
All right, so we
the entire lineup for the Red
Sox.
Sox.
Hold on, what's it now? Let's see if we can guess the entire lineup for get it to within like 25.
Okay,
you look at those
on.
9 losers they ran out there last night.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, well, Trevor Story has most of them, so I'm gonna say they're somewhere in the 250 range.
Okay, I would say Roman Anthony. Yeah, I'm going to say that all told they have 288 home runs.
366.
Wow.
Better than I thought.
So the original thought for this was that Mike Trout has more than their entire roster. Like, throw in Bregman on the IL.
Oh, that would have been fun.
And that wasn't close because Bregman and Story basically get you there,
Sure.
if not a little over. But the whole lineup, 390 to 366. So then you go down to the bottom. The Angels right now have a payroll of $194 million, higher than the Red Sox. This includes guys like Bregman on the IL. That is also higher the last 3 seasons. It's higher than every season they've had since the pandemic but one.
Wow.
So the Angels are spending more on their baseball team
they're horrible.
than John Henry and Fenway Sports Group has spent on the Boston Red Sox every year starting in 2020, except for the 22 season.
Yeah, the Angels spent all of their money on position players that got hurt. I wasn't kidding about Rendon. Rendon makes an obscene amount of money, and I don't think has played in the last couple of years.
Which was a bad contract to begin with. You know, I don't even know if he's. We'd have to look that up, and this is not for Angels Radio. But the point is that they're trying harder than Fenway Sports Group is.
Right.
I'm surprised that the Celtics were even a top 3 pick before the Drew Holiday trade last night.
That is a little surprising.
To win
That's true.
to win the East next year.
But you know what this means? 2 for 2, baby.
Yes, it is.
2
2-0 over here.
Congratulations, Walt.
Andrew's got 2 stats. Andrew's got 2 stats. But he's got 1 lie. But he's got 1 lie. Andrew's got 2 stats. Andrew's got 2 stats. But he's got 1 lie. But he's got 1 lie. Woo! Come on, girl.
Championship odds for next year, not just in the conference. OKC, obviously, favorites. Cavaliers are second.
Yeah.
Just because the East is so easy to get through.
Well, they won 64 games this year.
Followed by the Knicks. I thought it would be another team from the West. Rockets are actually 4th. I take that back. tie for third. They're both at plus 900. Knicks and Rockets. Okay, that makes more sense. And then the Magic, and then the Timberwolves. Betting odds only. Doesn't mean anything, but for our purposes here today.
Come on, girl.
You know, we can give you a tape of this to take home if you want.
I already had Nick send them to me. One is a ringtone.
It is?
Yeah. He just did such a great job.
Which one is it?
It is the original one, the intro.
Oh, yeah, the whole song.
Yeah. Though these should be like the text tones when my wife texts me. Just a, come on, girl. That'd be when 12 texts me. Hey, do you want to come in tomorrow? Yes.
What is this one?
Ooh, it's like my buddy's drunk.
And this is for your wife.
Yeah.
All right. I'll set that up for you. All right. Brian Robb going to join us next, talk about the Drew Holiday trade and all things NBA. Here with Andrew Callahan this morning on Toucher and Hardy. Hold on.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
seconds to go. Indiana not calling timeout. Nembhard racing into the front court. Holiday knocks the ball away with his left hand. Goes into the front court and gets fouled by Siakam.
Man, talking about playing defense.
The Pacers had a timeout. They didn't use it. And Drew Holiday hunted down Nembhard like he committed a crime. Ripped the ball away from him when he dribbled behind his back. And Drew Holiday, who has been brilliant from the
midst of starting to write through actually Drew Holiday possibilities. And thank God I didn't get too far into that article, because that would have been hit the graveyard of stories quickly.
So while the Drew Holiday, the Celtics essentially doing this, for apron purposes more than anything else, what was surprising about the deal that was made public last night?
Yeah, I think a couple of things, Artie. One is the fact that the Celtics got some draft picks back in this deal. I think is a win for them. I know they're just second round picks, but that type of collateral when you're entering a retooling offseason, like that stuff matters. That can help out for other deals. And certainly with a contract as big as Drew Holiday, there is only a certain amount of teams around the league that could, take on that type of long-term money and have it fit on the books, given the financial crunches of the new CBA. So the Brad Stevens bet here a couple years ago that, they knew that trades are going to have to come down the line one way or another with this core group, but he bet right here that, okay, these guys are going to have value around the league, just by giving them some big guys like Holiday. We're going to see Porzingis, and that bet ended up being true with them getting that and a guy in Simons. Well, I don't know for sure if he's going to be a long-term part of the future here for the Celtics, but he's 26. He's averaged 17 points per game or more the last 3 years, so he certainly can help you on the offensive end. And so getting a guy that falls in line, that in the timeline that's close to like 8-9 years younger than Drew Holiday, that's good. And so whether the Celtics want to keep him, whether the Celtics want to move him again, having a guy who's an expiring contract, it's easy for them to go either of those routes. So it gives them a little optionality, if you will, going forward here.
Not that I want to spend a lot of time talking about Portland and all, but does the deal make sense for Portland really in any way other than getting the player himself? Sure, great, but what are they going to do with it?
Right, it's wild. Like the Blazers traded Drew Holiday away 2 years ago to the Celtics. Like it's and I know they had a nice couple of final months of last year where they played above 500, but the rest of their team is in their early to mid-20s for the most part. So, but I guess this is just a tribute to Drew Holiday and what people around the league think about him. He's the consummate pro. He's can be a point guard. He can play off ball. He's obviously still a great defender, and he's clearly a good influence. And the Blazers have a lot of young guards there, and Sharp and Scoot Henderson. So they clearly think, okay, Drew Holiday is someone can be a good influence for them, a good secondary piece for us, and help us win right away and help us on the defensive end. So I'm kind of shocked with you. I was shocked that they were willing to take a guy that's entering his mid-30s because they're clearly not close to contending in the West. But now with Drew Holiday around, with another move or two, they could be a playoff team. And it's like we saw the Pacers last year, teams are just getting aggressive. They want to start making a push to get better sooner. And Drew Holiday still has something left in the tank, and so they're betting that he can help them.
So, Brian, there were two things that struck me about this deal when I was also up at 12:30, but not writing about Drew Holiday deals immediately. And I want you to pick one and run with it because both are kind of open-ended. Number one is Anthony Simons, to me, is a 26-year-old who's on an expiring deal for okay money, represents more optionality for them. Like the Celtics can get off of his money, letting that contract expire in 12 months, trading him at the trade deadline, or maybe in the next, however many days, weeks, or months. Number two is, if they don't move off of him or extend him or commit to him in some sort of way, he represents long-term, in the way that he represents optionality in the short term, a pivot away from who they've been, where the whole ethos is we will have everyone on the floor can shoot threes and can hold up in isolation on defense. And we know is a small guard who is picked on in Portland. And even when they had great defense at the end of last season, was still a minus on the floor at that end. So which strikes you as more likely or more important here with this deal with Simons coming to Boston?
Yeah, I think Andrew. It's like a Simon is certainly someone defensively would be a weak link as far as what the Celtics, fans have seen the last couple of years. And I think a big part of this is all options are on the table right now for the Celtics, and they're going to see what's out there for Simons, but they're also going to see what's out there. They're certainly talking about other players on their roster right now, whether that's Porzingis, Sam Hauser, et cetera. But having an expiring contract is just far easier to move than a contract that has 2 more years tacked on at $35 million a year, which wasn't Drew Holiday. So they kind of did the hard part now,
right?
If you will, by getting off a Holiday's deal, and this gives them, they can weigh things against each other, being like, okay, do we like Simon's market, or do we think, hey, he could be a good sixth man for us going forward, a good offensive energy guy, but you have Peyton Pritchard, you already have the sixth man of the year on your team. So it's fascinating from that standpoint. But my guess is the team we're looking at now, it's not the team that we're going to be seeing in a month from now. So I wouldn't think too much about what the on-court fit for is now, because I imagine there'll be at least 2-3 more moves in the coming days and weeks, just to whether it's Simons or whether it's other parts of the roster, because there's just a lot more money that needs to be moved right now, because they're still $18 million above the second apron, and only one team, the Nets, have cap room just to take dead money, take a big contract outright. So you're going to have to kind of chip away at that total. And the way you do that is just moving more players and getting back smaller money, or just getting back other types of players, or making a bigger splash. And I don't expect them to do that, but I imagine the phones are still open for that as well at this point.
Well, you reported late last night that over the next 48 hours there could be more moves coming, and the Celtics remain very active in trade talks even after this trade was made. If you had to put a percentage on it, what is the percentage that they flip Simons and try and take more money off the payroll? This kid is 9 years younger than the player you just sent out. That makes him much more attractive as far as I'm concerned.
For sure. It's that expiring contract at the market, but he's also not the player that Drew Holiday is. And certainly while his offense is impressive and he shoots plenty of threes, which would fit in well offensively this season, he's a smaller guy who has been picked on defensively in the past. So you wonder, again, how much that fits in the Celtics' long-term plans. If he's someone they want to retool around Jason Tatum with, he's entering his prime, so in theory he could be that guy. But I honestly think it's like close to a coin flip right now, I would say. I think my guess is they're going to see what the market is out there for him, see what develops in the next couple of days, see what other moves they make across other parts of the roster where keeping him might make more sense, or moving on from him might make more sense. So he just gives them options right now. But I would very much feel like this week, draft week, like this is where a lot of teams want to get their affairs in order ahead of free agency. There's not a lot of good free agents out there. So if teams are looking to make upgrades to the roster, a lot of it's going to come this week centered around the draft, because that's when roster spots are open. That's when teams have cap flexibility. But either way, this is it's a fascinating first move, and I think it's a good one by the Celtics, because it just allows them to move in multiple different directions here, and other teams can't hold it as much over them, because teams know they have to make a move, but they can do it in a bunch of different ways, and so that helps you as for when you're negotiating potential returns.
Yeah, money-wise, great, and a player that can put points on the board, maybe for easier with a bad team than it is with a good team. But the defense for Anthony Simons is questionable, and we were talking about this earlier, B-Rob. What are the chances that a team can take any team, not just the Celtics, any team can take a player like Simons and somehow make him better defensively? How often do you see that happen? A player that not known for their defense can somehow become a good defender, or even get marginally better at it. And he's a young guy, so there's still room for improvement. I get it, but the improvement generally comes offensively when they develop some type of shot, that something happens, or even rebounding. Like, is there any chance that you see better defense out of Simons going forward? Because that's what this team is going to need, especially the time they're without Jason Tatum.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so it's it's down here. You can look at it in a couple ways. Like, do the Celtics have better defenders to put around him? So that kind of like hides his deficiencies a little bit more. Or they have a scheme where he just fits into better, where he like learns it more. And there's a fact of the matter, he's been on a rebuilding team for the last few years, ever since, the Blazers traded away Lillard. And so are those type of teams giving good effort defensively night after night? Of course not. Like, those are the teams that like kind of fall off there. Now, this Blazers team last year, they're middle of the road. They're 16th in defensive rating, but they're really good. They kind of got a lot better as the year went along. That wasn't the case necessarily for Simons there. So, but he did play big minutes for them. So like he was one of the weaker links in that roster on that front, but they were able to be a better defensive team in the last couple months of the year with him playing a lot. So that is encouraging from that standpoint, but he's also this is going to be his 8th year coming up. And so can he get better? Sure, with the right circumstances, but is he going to turn into an above average defender anytime soon? That's a big ask when you're this far into your career, but the Celtics clearly, have watched, imagine, tons of tape on him, know him inside out. And if the plan is for him to stay here, they certainly think enough of him where they're like, okay, we can pull the best out of him there and know that, if he can hold his own there. And I think you look at Porzingis as another guy who did well on that front for the most part on the floor of the Celtics. He was not known for his defense over the rest of his career, but the Celtics had some of the best defense in the league the last 2 years, and Porzingis kind of surprised in that front there. So if he can, not that they're far different players, obviously, but that's the kind of mindset the team will have in terms of like, okay, we can bring someone into our system and just make them fit as best they can and hide what they don't do well.
All right, Brian, you mentioned it. The next 36 to 48 hours are big for the Celtics. A lot of NBA teams planning for the offseason. Obviously, the draft is tomorrow night, second round Thursday night. Scale of 1 to 10. On what level of alert should fans be for another major move like this, and will make the line above Sam Hauser, who seems to be on his way out? He does not qualify here, all due respect. So we're talking about
the Hauser line.
The Hauser line.
The
yeah.
Hauser line,
yeah.
exactly. We're above the Hauser line. Scale of 1 to 10, fans being on alert for a Porzingis, a Derek White, or Jaylen Brown deal sometime over the next 36 to 48 hours.
I'd put it at an 8.
Wow.
And, but I would put, for Porzingis, would be like 9 to 10. And those other guys I would put further down, like 4 or 5, like definitely less likely than not that Derek White and Jaylen Brown move. But I think.
So where would he go? What does the deal look like? What does the return look like? If you're writing the article you tried to write last night, but instead of Drew Holiday, it's Kristaps Porzingis, where are the fits and what is the return? Because I'd imagine the return might be better than what they just got for Holiday.
Yeah, talking to people around the league, like, it's fascinating with Porzingis because he had a really good offensive year before this mystery virus came into play in the last couple of months, and obviously totally derailed his postseason. But he's an expiring contract, $29 million. Like, that's movable, and he's a big who can shoot and can shoot really well. And so there's always going to be a need for that around the league. So the question is, there's plenty of teams that want him, but are they giving the Celtics what they want? Like, the Celtics don't want to take on long-term money. They don't want to. Obviously, they can't take back more money than they send out because they're trying to cut money at this point. So there's parameters involving what they're looking for in a deal like this that matter. But I look at plenty of Western Conference contenders that could use a big. A team like Detroit is kind of interesting to me because they're obviously up and coming, and they could use another stretch big as well. Again, I don't know how Hardy feels about that. But it does.
I just think the whole thing is interesting because you look at like who is in need and who could use Porzingis, and I think for Porzingis, it's a team that's like that one piece away, either the big or wow. If we had the unicorn in here, that puts us over the top. But you could say the same thing about Drew Holiday and what he brings to the table, and the team that ended up giving you the best deal on him is a team that can't do anything with him.
But Western Conference teams, Brian's right. Western Conference teams, considering what Houston just did. Western Conference teams could use Porzingis more than anyone in the East, I think.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you could open it up to any number of teams. The NBA trades are crazy. That NBA teams do this all the time. They acquire players that they don't necessarily have a specific use for or can't even, put to good use right away, but they do it anyway. So I think it's a long way saying I think there'll be a lot of suitors for Porzingis.
Yeah, if the the return for Holiday is good news for the Celtics with Porzingis in terms of like these guys won a title last year. They still hold market value despite the tough second round exit this year. And but to your point, Hardy, every team's motivation is different. Like Portland is up and coming, but they want the veteran mentor, and they want a defensive minded guy that can play alongside offensive minded guards that Portland has already. So that's Drew Holiday fit for them, and then they were able to give the return the Celtics wanted in terms of an expiring contract, someone who could potentially fit, but also could be moved going forward with a smaller contract. So that's, again, I look for a similar type of term for Porzingis. I maybe expect like two guys coming back that are making smaller salaries. So again, those type of things could be able to be potentially rerouted if they're, but without a doubt, there's going to be the market is there. The free agent market is pretty weak in terms of stretch bigs. So if a team wants to make that splash, like you said, John, in terms of getting that final piece for a big push, then Porzingis could be one of the better options out there.
All right.
Brian, real quick, just because I'm so sick of talking about the apron stuff, give me one small storyline, not money related, that people are not talking enough about the Celtics.
We're 2 minutes past break time, and now you're asking me to tell you a goddamn story.
Real quick.
Go ahead. No, take all the time in the world, B-Rob.
I'll hang on the break here. Who's going to play center next year? If you're trading Porzingis, Al Horford's a free agent. Luke Kornet's a free agent. Who's coming back in that group? Like that's a pretty big deal right now, and I wonder how much of that is planned out already. The Celtics could start talking to those guys as of yesterday with free agency opening up amongst your own free agents. But I think that's a pretty big deal since now that's not going to matter a ton for next year, but you got to figure out what the long-term plan is with your bigs around Jason Tatum if Porzingis is no longer around, and so they got to start to figure that out, and that process might begin this week.
Okay, just one more.
What's Peyton Pritchard up to? I haven't heard from that little guy in a while.
His Instagram's looking pretty good. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, B-Rob.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Buddy. There he goes, Brian Robb. So still a bit of a mystery why Portland was willing to do that. Bring back the guy they sent here 2 years ago.
I don't care.
Great, we'll take it.
I don't care. It's a good deal. Yeah. It's a really good deal for the Celtics.
It sucks though, like how we've had enough time to get used to the idea that Holiday wasn't going to be here anymore. Nobody likes it, but okay, the fact that you got something and it's the Band-Aid has been ripped off. I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that people are willing to trade Jaylen Brown, Fred Toucher, chiefly among them. Like, move him now. Get to it. Get to what?
B-Rob put that at a 4 or 5.
I know.
That's a lot higher than I thought it was going to be.
The next 36 to 48 hours.
I know.
Yep.
All right. Stay with us. We will have Ian Brown joining us at 9 o'clock. Is that correct? Very good. Here on Toucher and Hardy.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius.
What's the best way to listen to Toucher and Hardy?
Well, you're going to have to spend $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
You know, I got an idea for a bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
Email bit. Yeah, we're moving things around today because we got another 2 stats in the line we'll do later. We have Ian Brown joining us at 9, but right now we'll focus in on all of the lovely electronic mails we've received here this morning and last night here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. I already shared the one with you about Fred getting confused last week during the 2 stats and a lie. But another conversation we had earlier about pools, beaches, where you're going to cool off today. You two dummies both picked the beach.
Yep.
Which is wrong. Yeah, absolutely go to a pool to cool off.
My bad.
Dan Winter says, these guys are clueless when it comes to the ocean or beach. First of all, beaches are closed frequently due to fecal issues in the water, where I've never had a Caddyshack issue at my pool. Full disclosure, pools do get closed from time to time due to incidents.
Yes.
So that does happen.
What did he call it? Fecal matter issues?
Yeah.
What beach are you going to?
Yeah.
Probably Walden Pond. Oh, that's Uranus. I'm sorry, 12. That's just human urine.
He's going today for a soak. I'm sure that water's
right.
going to be lovely today.
It was. I'll tell you, John. Yesterday, I went after the show, and because of the warm weather, the top 6 inches of that water were like
algae.
I'm just going to say the bottom. Everything after that was algae. The further you went in,
and then you plunge down, and it's nice and cool. So you get the warm on top and the cool on the bottom. So refreshing.
Only in half an hour to get there.
Listen, John. It's a 15-minute drive, and I gave you proof. And now you're just making sport of me, and I don't appreciate it.
A quick jaunt up Route 117.
Secondly, Dan mentions at the beach, sharks. Thirdly, people set up right next to you, play their music way too loud. Fourthly, you got to carry all your stuff down to the beach. I prefer to walk outside, set up my umbrella, and float around my pool drinking. Clearly, these guys have never owned a pool in their lives. Ooh.
That's correct.
It's true, and I'm very happy not to deal with the upkeep of said pool.
I used to be one of those people who thought the beach was amazing, but after I bought a house with a pool, I realized I would much rather be in my pool.
I think Dan just emailed to brag. I think he's made it very clear that he has a pool. I also, when we were doing the pool versus beach, I pictured a community pool.
That's yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah, I don't have a pool. I'm not going to. And one of my neighbors, by the way, moved from a house with a pool to a house that was built to have a pool. And the first thing he said is, I'm not putting in a pool, because he did his cost to swim ratio. He did his cost per swim analysis of the last house he lived in. And he's not exaggerating. It was $150 a swim.
Oh, nice.
But the amount that he used it, now that his kids are grown and out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not doing that. By the way, he goes on to say that he's playing golf at 3 p.m. today, FML. My course is closed today.
Smart.
They sent the email out last night. They're like, no. And they didn't say this in the email. Part of it is we don't want people to die out on the golf course and be really, really bad. It's for the same reason Augusta National closes down during the summer. Like, oh, you joined Augusta National, you want to play golf? No. There's no golf being played at Augusta National in the summer. It's too hot. It's bad for the grass. It's bad for you. You don't do it. I would say don't do it today, Dan, but good luck.
Dan, just go to the beach.
Yeah.
Take your FML and do an FMI with your fecal matter issues, and you'll be all right.
Hardy, what happened? Oh, this is a YouTube chat email. What happened to the chat? Everyone's getting timed out. It's in slow mode. People don't seem to be happy, even though Nick's doing his job. Who told him to do this? Great job leading the show today. Hashtag Chatgate. Nick.
Chatgate.
Do you want to come in here? Let's have Nick come in here and talk about what's
There's
happening.
been a lot of problems with people in the chat the last 24 hours or so. We've had a lot of people angry. And Fred said some things about the people in the chat, and they're not happy.
Oh,
with
look
them.
at Nick sitting down in Fred's chair. Cat's away.
Good morning.
He couldn't wait to get there. He's got there a lot faster.
Take a picture and send this to Fred.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got an email yesterday from somebody who was unhappy with commentary that either Fred or I had made about the chat, which is, I think, the only thing we said yesterday, the only thing that I've said about the YouTube chat in general, where there are a couple of people in there who apparently hate the show and get on the chat every day and talk about everything that sucks about the show. And I said, it was me. I was the instigator. I said, how is this good for people who actually want to watch the show and like the show to see this running commentary about how bad the show sucks from 2 or 3 people? And it may not even be 3. It might be 2. Might be 1. I don't even know. I stopped going on it because it was so vile and hateful. I'm like, I don't want to look at this. And I don't think it's indicative of the larger YouTube chat. So, Nick, what was your solution yesterday?
So I went in and used most of the moderation tools that YouTube gives us and activated them. And this morning has been a long morning because people are adjusting to the new norm.
So what does that mean? If you're watching the show, have people been banned? Have people been kicked out of the chat?
Well, one of the features is I can time out people. So time out whether it's like 10 seconds or a minute or 5 minutes or an hour or 24 hours.
And what are you giving people time? Have you given timeouts today?
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
How long?
Oh, I think the longest has been 30 minutes.
Can you give me an example of a comment that resulted in a timeout?
Dude, no, because there's been so many.
Well, just give me one mild example.
Oh, boy. Probably about me and my big butt.
Oh.
But that was a minor one. That's probably like
That's above the Hauser line? Like this is
probably like a 2 minute, 1 minute hazard.
That's a slap on the wrist.
I know it's very minor. It's a
2-minute timeout isn't going to deter anyone from anything.
There have been other comments. Listen, there's been so many comments that Ryan has been doing a great job also timing out people, and
that's you spreading blame. Ryan.
No.
Anyone in the chat who gets
comments,
there's so
time
many
back in.
The chat. There's so many people like chatting all at once that it's good to have a second person. A second person. Excuse me.
Oh boy.
No, hold on. Give him a moment. Take a deep breath.
Yes.
In through the nose, out through the mouth. No, deeper than that. Now, you're not sucking snot into your throat. Try that sentence again.
But it's good to have a second set of eyes.
Doing what?
Watching the chat.
Or, starts with an M.
Peeking the chat.
No, you could do this.
Monitoring the chat.
Yes!
There you go.
Yes!
There you go.
Right there.
Speaking of,
But
Joe Murray is
Ryan's
monitoring
watching the chat
right now.
The intern's watching the chat as well.
And he is.
And,
that's right. Nick can't hear me,
it
sorry.
did get out of hand. So, what? Did he just-
12 was talking all over you.
You can't hear me because you don't have headphones on. Because why would you put headphones on when you go into the studio? I don't know.
Didn't even hear that.
I know
You
he
still can't hear
I'm
you,
really
12.
leaning into him. Joe Murray, just to let you guys know, is on the in the chat right now, asking us how he can lift the filters for his night show. He wants unfiltered chat for the night show.
Of all the comments, Nicholas, are they negative about the three of us in this room, or is it just negative?
Mainly
in general?
negative about the new rules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Do you feel empowered? No?
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Yeah, I'm still smiling.
It's so good.
Have the numbers been down in terms of viewers?
That's the thing. No, it isn't. So we average around like 600 to 800 viewers.
Wow.
Woo!
Wow.
Hey, it's a lot.
Oh man, when does our bonus kick in?
It's pretty decent. I'm not crapping on that, but it's about like.
That was just for you. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
But then there's like. But
I'm laughing at us. I'm not laughing at you, Nick. I'm like, oh my god,
this is not your fault. I'm just curious. Go
I know,
ahead.
but that's a decent amount of people watching the live stream. I mean, it's
is
fine.
it though?
For us, that
When you
is.
do it, when you do like a live Instagram thing on football, Andrew, how many people you get? Thousands?
More than that.
Yeah.
I don't go live every day for my podcast, but when we do like a Monday night show after a game, and we did a few of these live ones in the offseason,
But-
we got to like 3,000-4,000.
But that's the only way people can consume it. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, the people listening to this are. I
Don't
mean,
count.
by a factor of, I don't know, the 100 or 1,000 beyond what's on the YouTube.
I don't know. It sounds like you guys have a ratings problem bigger than the NBA. So I don't know. That's tough.
Okay. All right.
Maybe we should free the chat, unmoderate the chat.
You think that'll bring more people in?
No, I'm just busting
No, I don't think so.
All right. All right. Thank you, Nick. Goodbye, Nick. Look at him. He's happy to get out of here. Look at him.
I want to see what some people write when they get timed back in. Like, did they learn their lesson? Is it more toxic?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Let me
By the
sample
way,
instead of a
2-minute timeout. What does that do?
I really didn't expect Nick to sit there and like moderate the whole thing. It's like if there was one particularly vile person who hates the show, just cut him off. Just ban him. It's like, get out of here. This is not for you. You obviously don't like the show. Don't comment here anymore and just ban them for life. Be done with that one or two people. That would fix it too, wouldn't it? As opposed to monitoring every comment that gets said. Yeah. Now I can't say monitoring. Or don't. I don't care. I don't look at it anymore, so it doesn't affect me.
You know, I'm going to pivot here. I'm happy for Nick. I'm glad he has control over that. I think he should moderate as much as he wants and monitor and limit the people. If he's taking, shovels full of bleep and eating it a fair amount on the show, he gets to shovel it elsewhere.
We got to break. All right, Ian Brown joins us next. Hold on.
More Toucher and Hart. people listen to Touch and Hardy?
Because it's a thing.
All right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
No idea what you're talking about.
Here's more of The Thing on the Sports Hub.
The Red Sox in Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks get a couple of arms. They're also getting James Tibbs, the first-round pick from the San Francisco Giants last year, 13th overall out of Florida State, as well as one more prospect.
Toucher and Hardy without Fred Toucher this morning, but Andrew Callahan is here, and now Ian Brown is here, supervising club reporter for the MLB.com, covering the Red Sox since 2002. Wow. It's a long time, Ian.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a minute.
Thanks for joining us again here. I liked your headline a day or two ago about the defensive miscues catching up with the Red Sox. Have they caught up, or have they just
You know the answer to that. Why are you asking him?
It seems like a season-long defensive miscues situation, Ian. Are you being kind? Are you being too kind?
First of all, I don't write the headlines, as Andrew knows. A lot of the times the writers don't write the headlines for those stories. But yeah, the defense has been tough. It's been an issue really the last 3 years, which makes it harder. And it cost them 2 games in a row. And then last night Walker Buehler does what he does, and that's 3 bad losses in a row after he had kind of built some pretty good vibes there, both going into the Devers trade and for the first few days after.
And obviously, John and Andrew, I'll let you guys go, but I'm burying the lead here. It's mostly about Rafael Devers, so I'm sure that's what you guys want to address.
But that's part of it. I mean, Rafael Devers not being in this lineup, oddly enough, doesn't change a lot defensively or on the base run or in the base running either. I mean, I was talking to these guys earlier, Ian. How often do you see a team ground into a double play when you have the runner on second and nobody out? I mean, it just seems the Red Sox are capable of these things whether they have Devers or not.
Yeah, we've seen some crazy things the past couple of days. I will say that, Jarren Duran is supposed to be a veteran on this team and on a team of younger guys, and he's got to play smarter baseball than he has been lately. He's got to hit better, too. He's just, he's not even really coming close to what he did last year. And that's kind of an underrated thing. Through all the other stuff, that's kind of an underrated thing that's hurting this team right now. It's just Duran's performance.
Ian, I want to ask you about Cora because I know the sports that I've covered, it's much easier to parse the blame for a bad play call or stupid mistakes or too many penalties. And I understand the team is trending younger, but Duran is not a young player. Neither is Abraham Toro. When it comes to the defensive mistakes and those on the base pass, how much blame do you put on Alex Cora for either coaching this or allowing it to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime a team is not playing fundamentally strong baseball, which you've seen here, some blame goes on the manager. They do work on all these things. I see it in spring training, so I'm not sure exactly what's happening on the field here. A lot of young players. But, yeah, Alex Cora is going to be in charge of righting this ship. He's got to do what he can to stop these mistakes from happening. So it's been just too many giveaway games this year, and that's the unfortunate thing. They're 500. They should be a little better than 500, and they've got to play just cleaner baseball going forward.
Amazing that they're 500, I think is how Wallach put it this morning, based on some of the things. But back to Alex Cora for a second. Where would you gauge his investment level, say, this season compared to previous seasons or just prior to his latest contract extension that he got last year?
Yeah, I don't sense anything different from Alex Cora. I mean, he's the same guy. He's frustrated. As you've seen, he's gotten thrown out of the game 2 days in a row now. So I think he's pretty.
Because he doesn't want to watch it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But no, I don't think he's any less invested. I think that he is managing a lot of young players, and now they've traded Devers, and I think that he was behind I don't think he had a problem with Rafael Devers being traded because, look, that was casting some sort of cloud in the clubhouse. I think it was just like a lot of uncertainty with that. So I think he almost felt freed a little bit after that trade. I think so. No, but I think he's invested. I don't think investment is the issue with the manager.
How would you characterize, because you're in there every night, home or road, how would you characterize the Red Sox clubhouse right now? Is it relief? Is it energized? Is it sadness? What are you seeing?
Yeah, no, I will say the first day I walked in there in Seattle last week after the Devers trade, I was expecting kind of like a sad, sort of uneasy clubhouse. Guys were happy, joking around, playing music. So I think the clubhouse is fine. I think that the only thing with the Devers trade is the timing was a little bit weird because they had just gone on a winning streak and they had just swept the Yankees. But, I think that guys understood the trade, and I don't think that Rafael Devers was like a huge part of the clubhouse dynamic the way he was kind of acting this season. So, I think the clubhouse is fine. That's not the issue. The issue right now is on the field, and they need to make. There's some other shoes to drop. They need to make some other moves here to improve this team now that they've lost their best hitter.
Ian, spinning it forward, part of the return for Devers obviously was Kyle Harrison, 23-year-old starter. He's still in AAA. I know you wrote about him and some of the other pieces that came back today. I'm a little split on Kyle Harrison because I look at him as obviously got plus velocity. He's already had major league experience at 23, but the secondary pitches meh, and I know he's tinkered with some hard curveballs, some soft ones. Like I don't know where to land here on Kyle Harrison for a guy who, especially after Walker Buehler blew up last night, it probably needs to be here soon. What is reasonable to expect from Kyle Harrison this season and moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason he's at AAA right now. Is not because they don't think he can pitch here right now, but because they want to fine-tune some things in his repertoire, and they want him to be ready to produce once he gets here, whether that's a month, 5 weeks. It's very similar. I don't know if you remember when they got Nick Pivetta in 2020. They sent him down to the minors when they first got him. He went down there, worked on some things, and not that he became an ace for the Red Sox, but he was better than he was with the Phillies, and he was kind of dominant at times. So I think that's what they're looking to do with Harrison. But no, 23 years old, there's still a lot of upside there and plenty of time to develop him. So whether it happens this year or next year, ideally this year, the way this rotation is trending right now, I think that was the big piece of the trade. Andrew Bailey, remember, he worked with him in San Francisco as the Giants pitching coach. So there's some familiarity right there already. I think that Logan Webb had some great things to say about him over the weekend. He was his teammate in San Francisco, and he thinks that he's really going to flourish under Andrew Bailey and in Boston, though. And then we'll see what happens here. But I think that was the big reason, the big piece in that trade was getting Kyle Harrison.
Looking forward, the trade deadline's about 5 weeks from now, and you mentioned you think the Red Sox have to make at least one, maybe two moves now that Devers is gone. And management, more specifically Craig Breslow, said immediately after the trade, now it gives us the flexibility. We can go, use our resources somewhere else. I think that there isn't a lot of trust from Red Sox fans in this leadership at all, but you seem to think that they are going to make some moves here.
I think they have to. I mean, just the way they've invested in this whole season with, they got Garrett Crochet and they got Alex Bregman, and Breslow said, with every move, this is all about this year. So you can't suddenly back away from that. Now, unless they just completely free fall, between now and the July 31st deadline, I think if they stay where they are right now, you have to make a couple impact moves, whether it's getting one guy I think you need to look at is Marcell Ozuna from the Braves. I mean, the Braves are falling out of it. They just lost Chris Sale. This guy tears down the wall every time he comes to Fenway. I mean, just a big bat. They need an impact bat, and they need another really quality starting pitcher. So I think I'd be disappointed if I were a Red Sox fan if they don't go out and do those two things before the trade deadline. But no, they do have the money now. They have some capital they can trade. So I do think that there's some more significant moves coming here.
Ian Brown from MLB.com is with us. Ian, you said earlier that the team understood the Devers trade. There was a lot of discussion in the immediate aftermath about Devers and how he was with the team, how he was in the clubhouse, how he was perceived by management. When you say that the team understood it, is it an understanding because he wasn't necessarily everyone's favorite around there? Everyone knows what type of player he is and how he contributed to the team, but did he make it easier for his teammates to see him go because of how he was with everybody in and around the team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was a bad guy necessarily. I think the issue was it was kind of a slap in the face of the whole team when he wouldn't play first base, or he wouldn't even entertain the idea of playing first base once Tristan Casas went down for the season with that knee injury. So I think that's what really hurt Rafael Devers standing in the clubhouse, was just kind of not being there for his teammates. And I think that could have made a difference on the team. You had put him at first base. He could have gotten Masataka Yoshida up much sooner. He could have been DHing. So it just, it hurt you as a team. So I think that's what, I don't think he was ever malicious. I think maybe he was a little more disengaged since the whole thing happened in spring training than he was in past years. But again, I think it was more just not willing to play first base. And I think the team looked at it as, we have a bunch of young guys here. We don't want to set a culture where our best player isn't doing all he can to help the team win every day. So I think that's ultimately one of the biggest reasons he got traded.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because I don't think anybody would excuse the way the Red Sox handled the situation. There could have been a lot of different ways to deal with Rafael Devers and where to play him and how to move him around. So this doesn't excuse it in any way, but I do think it's interesting that now the narrative seems to be that he's in San Francisco. Oh, he's gonna play wherever they need him to.
Oh, he said that
without any hesitation. It's like, well, okay, the Red Sox didn't handle it great, but that's a pretty big admission now that once you've been moved, you're like, hey, wherever you need me is cool. I get it now.
Yeah, I actually asked a question to him in San Francisco. I said, Rafi, what do you say to Red Sox fans who are wondering why you would not be willing to play first base for the Boston, but you are in San Francisco? And he said, well, I think I put up some numbers where I deserve some respect. And then he added that if they had asked him to do it at the beginning of spring training, he would have done it, playing first base. So I'm saying Tristan Casas wasn't hurt in spring training. They needed him to do it once Casas got hurt. So that answer didn't make a ton of sense to me. But I think the first part of it was, I deserve respect. That was how he felt. As kind of the lead dog on the team. That, how could they ask him to switch positions twice? And that was just kind of, the straw that broke the camel's back, really.
All right. Ian, appreciate the time. Thank you. As always, Ian Brown from MLB.com. And hey, good luck watching these games going forward. Let's hope for fewer defensive miscues.
Might as well ask to hit the lottery.
Right. All right, guys. Great being on with you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right. We have a second Two Stats and One Live from Andrew Callahan, who's filling in for Fred today. Wallach and I both nailed the first one so easily. If I were Andrew, I'd feel a little bit bad about it, a little embarrassed at how quickly we pounced on that thing.
I'm not poking the bear. I was humbled all winter. I'm not poking the bear at all. I'm just grateful to have gotten that one right, Andrew.
I'll poke him. I'll poke a little fun.
You ready?
Yeah.
I'm about to bite back.
All right, let's go.
After this?
You didn't need to say after this. I mean, you could just say, I'm ready, and then we can just go.
After this?
Just say I'm ready.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports.
Get the app.
There's the potential there for big stuff.
98.5 The Sports Hub app. Get the app. Toucher and Hardy.
Such an fantastic explosion.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Andrew has 2 stats, but he has just 1 lie. Andrew has 2 stats, but he has just 1 lie.
All right, so earlier we did a 2 stats, 1 lie. Wallach and I both rolled to victory easily.
Technicality.
It was tough making a segment out of it. So I hope we got something better this time around because that was just.
Oh, man.
All right.
What can I say, Andrew?
Apparently anything. First time I've ever been swept on the show, and he just wants to keep going.
Hey, you have another chance here to redeem yourself.
So I will say you have a chance here to maintain your lead in the offseason standings, which are very real, by just piggybacking on whatever Hardy says. Because that way he cannot outperform you.
You know what?
And you will stay atop.
Summer stats don't count to Hardy. He was very clear about that earlier.
Yeah, says a guy who never had to go to summer school. Baby, those grades better count.
You know me. The action is the juice, okay?
Sure.
So I will purposely go against Wallach on this one just to show, hey, I'm not trying to piggyback onto his off-season success, which is a contradiction in terms. Off-season success. It means nothing. No one's keeping stats for the off-season 2 stats, 1 lie. But just for the sport of it, I'll go against you on this one, and I can talk my way into it.
All right,
Don't you worry about
that's fine. I just want to say before we start, I feel very fortunate to have won early this morning.
Boy, that was easy to divide and conquer.
Go ahead, Andrew.
All right, 2 stats and a lie. Second edition today. This is looking ahead to the NBA draft, which is tomorrow and Thursday.
Okay.
I have 3 prospects. 2 are real. 1 is fake.
He did this before when you were
out.
Yeah.
He said he was here for that.
Oh, you were here for that.
I was here for this one for the NFL version of it.
All right.
And this is the problem. If it were anyone else, I would feel confident in being able to pick out the fake write-up for the player.
But because he's a writer and does these normally for
Correct.
football season, this is a problem.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
I make up everything in football season. It's all fake.
By October, I would think you've expended.
It's all fan
your
fiction.
thesaurus has been used. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go.
Ready?
Let's go. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Number 1.
Yep.
Mario Mago, 6'9", 218 pounds, from the Spanish League, plays for Valencia, BC, and in his downtime plays the piccolo. Mario Mago, 6'9", 218 pounds, from the Spanish Leagues, Valencia, BC, plays the piccolo.
With a nod to Jenny Piccolo, one of the, I would say at times overutilized fringe characters on a Happy Days.
I liked it better when they didn't have her. At the beginning, it was just, I'm going to my friend Jenny's house, and you never saw her. They added her later on.
Which is why, John, I said overutilized fringe players from Happy Days.
Yeah.
Jenny Piccolo.
Very
Okay.
sad.
Mario, what's Mario's last name?
Mago, M-A-G-O.
All right.
6'9", 218, Valencia, plays the piccolo.
In his downtime. Number 2, Dink Pate.
Oh, hold on a second. What are we doing?
I've been curious about this.
Yeah, sorry. We got to get the thing back up here. Hold on. This is this whole.
You want me to hit one for you?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Let's do this. It takes 2 stats from the other 9.
So much better.
And 1 lie, see if you can get it right. It takes 2 stats from the other 9. And 1 lie, see if you can get it right.
All right. Mario Mago, 6'9", 218 pounds, out of Valencia, plays the piccolo in the offseason. That is
number 1.
That is NBA draft prospect number 1, real or fake. Okay, go. What is number 2?
Prospect number 2, Dink Pate, 6'6", 201 pounds, played for the Mexico City Capitanes, once the youngest pro basketball player in the United States at age 17. Dink Pate.
Wait, what was that? Once the youngest? What was that?
Was once the youngest pro basketball player in the U.S. at age 17.
When? If he's in the Mexico Capitanes, you're not saying.
Dink Pate.
All right.
Prospect number 3, Zeke Mayo,
6'4", 185 pounds. Played at the University of Kansas. He drinks Starbucks before every game. Zeke Mayo, 6'4", 185, went to the University of Kansas, and he drinks Starbucks before every game.
Okay. All right, got it.
And you have to disagree with me, so I have to go first.
No. I'll go. Yeah.
The way you have it,
fine.
I have to go, and then you have to talk yourself into something else.
That's fine. Because I have what I want, but I'll talk myself out of it if I need to.
Very good. Okay. Number one, plays the piccolo. That sounds to me like Andrew Callahan just kind of threw that in because it's true but sounds suspect. I think this is kind of a double cross. Valencia is actually a team. So I think that's true. Zeke Mayo, 6'4", 185 out of Kansas, drinks Starbucks. That's pretty weird for a scouting report. Just like, drinks Starbucks. Who would pick that out? I think Dig Pate is an actual guy, if I'm remembering this correctly. So the short version is 3 is the fake prospect. Number 3 is the fake prospect of these three gentlemen.
This is unfortunate because that's the one I wanted.
Okay.
Okay?
You can talk yourself out of it, or we can team up again.
But drinks Starbucks before every game.
Just bizarre. Why would you? I mean, that's weird to throw into a...
Okay,
yeah.
it's weird to throw in. It's not weirder necessarily than playing the piccolo, but it also sounds too pedestrian for a creative sort like Andrew Callahan to make up and then add to somebody's bio. So I will talk myself into that being a real thing. What I did not like, out of all the things that Andrew just said and did, was the way he said, Capitanes! He was really selling the name of the team that Dink Pate played for. And once the youngest professional player in the U.S., but he's in Mexico now, none of it makes any sense. And I think he maybe got a little too cute for his own good with Dink Pate at number 2.
You've talked yourself into 2 being the lie.
I've talked myself into number 2 being the lie.
I think
had you gone Dink Pate, I would have been perfectly happy going with Zeke Mayo as being a lie.
I think Dink Pate, something rings true. I think I've seen his name before. So I think Dink Pate, if that is how it's pronounced, is a real person. I say 3 is the lie. Hardy says 2 is the lie. What is the answer?
Hold on a second. Yes, 12.
Just because the two of you have chosen the 2 that I would not, I am going to weigh in on this. I don't want to be scored or anything, but I think number 1 is the lie, and I will give reasoning as to why I believe that after the answer's been revealed.
You have to
Unless
do
you'd like
it
me
now.
to do that now.
And I'm sure it's woodwind related. It's something
Yes,
about
that's
the
exactly
piccolo.
what it is. So here's my thinking is, so I reached out late yesterday and asked Andrew if he could fill in for Fred today. And he said yes. So we talked about bringing 2 stats and a lie. That's great. So if I'm Andrew, I'm trying to put one of these together, a couple of them actually, to have ready for the show today. And I need to, when I'm doing this prospect flavored one, I need to have some fun facts about each person. He knows that I'm a trombone player, right? We talk about that. That comes up often on the show. So I think that Andrew's brain went there and said, okay, let me throw a different musical instrument in as a fun fact to one of these things here. And that's why number 1 is the lie.
All right.
I don't love your reasoning there. The piccolo thing. It seems silly to have a 6'9" person playing such a short instrument like the piccolo. But, all right, we all have our choices.
All right. On a hot, steamy day in Massachusetts, the dish best served cold has been delivered. Got you both. 12 was right.
Oh!
God.
What do you want?
Oh, my God.
Boom!
What do you want?
Payback, baby.
2 stats, baby. But only one lie, maybe. 2 stats, 1 lie.
Mario Mago does not exist.
I was right about Dig Pate. He does exist.
He does exist.
Yeah.
So it totally fair on my emphasis on Capitanes, which is also just fun to say for being on Mexico City Capitanes. Go, vamos Capitanes. He was once the youngest pro basketball player in the United States when he was 17 because he skipped part of his senior year of high school and went to the now defunct, not the G League, which is where the Capitanes played, but it was the G League Ignite. So it was this whole separate professional league where the Amen Thompson,
played with his twin. Who's
It's a feeder thing.
Yeah.
Instead of going to college, they go play in the G League. That's what
Okay.
this is. Yeah.
All right.
So he's real, as is Zeke Mayo. It was who's the other Thompson brother? I can't think of it, John.
Amen and Osar.
Osar Thompson. So they played in the G League Ignite, which now doesn't exist anymore. Zeke Mayo, 6'4", 185, drinks Starbucks before games. He used to attend South Dakota State. He was a Jackrabbit, which was once a fun fact. And I think we'll just go with the Starbucks. Native of Lawrence, Kansas, so grew up there. Had to go else to play basketball. Came back this year as a transfer. Still pounding that macchiato, latte, espresso shot, whatever it might be. Mario Mago does not exist, though.
Where'd you come up with the name Mario Mago?
It sounded good enough, just off the top of my head.
He's a wordsmith.
You just invented a name.
I can't say where the piccolo came from. I do like the thinking.
Okay.
But initially I was like, piano's not that great. I was like, what are common Italian instruments? So I initially had always 20-year-old Italian.
piccolo.
He shot 50% from 3. I was like, we'll do shorter the better. So we landed on the piccolo.
Damn it.
I was close, though.
Seemed
Yes,
too
you got it.
obvious. Seemed too obvious. All right, but really nicely done, Andrew.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Way to redeem yourself.
You guys are getting closer and closer the way you think these through. It's like it's having 3 very
unsettling is the word.
unqualified shrinks. Yes.
It's so much
Climbing
easier.
into my lying brain.
It's so much easier without Fred here. Because he just confuses the entire exercise.
Yeah, but it's not as much fun.
But it's not as angry either. You're not having someone tell you to shut up every 5 seconds.
Shush.
Yeah. Shush. Hold on. No. Shut up, Wallach.
But it's the overconfidence right at the top that makes all that worth it, because it happened last week too. He was like, all right, I know which one it is. It's this one. While it goes, and then he talks through it, identifies the lie, but says that has to be a stat because of reasons X, Y, and Z. Missed the home run total. Or the sack total.
Sack total.
Yeah, with Mike Vrabel last week.
Because he was debating whether or not the actual fact that you gave was a fact when it was not part of the stats in a live situation.
Because I had asked for the number previously, yes.
Yeah, that's great. All right, good.
Andrew's got 2 stats, but he only has one. No good stinking lie. Andrew's got 2 stats, but has only one lie. Who will guess correctly? Oh.
That's an underrated one. We don't usually get to this one, but with two segments today, we got to all 6 of the versions. And
No timeout for Nick.
Well, there's
I'm monitoring all the songs. He's done a great job.
Oh, yeah. No, that's... He touched the sun with the Michael Jackson, though. That's, you can't do better than that.
Come on, girl.
Yeah. There is a Christmas version, too, but we're going to hang on to that one until...
a few more months.
You don't remember the Christmas 2 stats, 1 lie?
No. Wow.
I don't remember that.
You got to use it once, because then we all went on holiday break.
All right.
And I was in Christmas Eve for Zone Beetle. I don't think we did it
You want to
then.
do Christmas in June here, Hardy?
Why not?
4 more shows, 3 co-hosts, 2 statistics, and 1 live from Andrew Callahan.
Oh, that's a mess.
I swear I've never heard that. That's tremendous.
That was 10 minutes before the segment. Now let me slap one of these together real quick. We've all been there.
Awesome.
Those of us who do production.
Some of the best stuff happens off
You're
the
absolutely
top
right,
of the,
John.
you know?
You're absolutely right.
All right, well done. Thank you, Andrew. We'll have the stat coming up here in a moment after the headlines here on Toucher and Hardy. Hold on.
Essential Sports Hub head. Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Fred describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher.
2 stats and I. It's good. That would have led the league last year.
It certainly would have. Yeah, we just had a quick game of cornhole in here.
Hardy had a big lead. Callahan came back.
Oh, yeah. He's a gamer.
And then I think we stopped.
Well,
5-5?
No. I won. You know that I won. I'm next year and all that stuff. And somebody said, well, I would think that would be just more reason to do it. You know, people are going to be in town, blah, 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 blah. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu offered new insight into why Boston Calling is taking a gap year in 2026. And Boston Calling, which has been going on for how many years now? 12? 10 years or something?
Oh, no, more than that. It launched in 2013. So 12 years.
Oh, more than hey, I see what you did there.
Those first couple of years, they doubled up. They would do them in May and September.
All right. The reason why has nothing to do with the actual festival and the success of the festival itself or city regulations. Mayor Wu said they had reached out to me to share that because next year will be so busy between the 250th anniversary celebrations. What is the name for 250? I looked this up before.
I don't know.
It's above bicentennial.
Right,
Thank you.
bicentennial's 200. So,
and I remember 150 is sesquicentennial. So whatever, the 250th year celebrations, FIFA coming, there will be a lot of strain on hotel rooms and events and sponsorships. It's always about the money. It's always we should have known this. It's about
semi-quincentennial.
Semi-quincentennial?
Okay.
That's not going to catch on.
No.
I'm just going to call it 250. But it's sponsorship. So all these companies and entities being hit up for sponsorships and somehow being a part of the 250th anniversary celebration and the World Cup, they're not going to have money to spend on Boston Calling.
Yeah, World Cup, I think, starts June 15th in Foxborough. That's their first match. I want to say middle of June.
Yeah, it's like mid to late June through the beginning of July.
The lead up and the ramp up to that is going to be so long and so constant leading up to it that, the sponsorship money is going to be going elsewhere. So that's one of the reasons why has to do with the money. But, the strain on hotel and everything else.
Can you imagine coming from Madrid to go watch a World Cup game and you're driving down Route 1, this mecca of American sport, and you've got, what is that?
The Red Wing Diner?
A thrift store?
No, they get to see the Tom Brady statue at that point, right?
Oh, well, when they get closer to the stadium.
Yeah.
Is it going to be as tall as the lighthouse? How big is it?
Andrew?
Bigger.
I want it to be Paul Bunyan size, Hardy.
No,
like, you know what I'm
apparently
talking
it's supposed
about?
to be like 8
one
or
of
10
those.
feet tall, right?
I have not
Like 50
looked into
feet tall.
anything regarding the statue. It is weird they're doing that before a preseason game, though, because there was one day that they could have worked it out with Brady's broadcasting schedule, provided he agreed to this. They play Monday night versus the Giants in December. So he would be busy Sunday. But no, let's do it August 9th versus the Commanders. That'll hang out.
And 12 just told me the Tom Brady statue is, of course, 12 feet tall.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Now it all makes sense.
Yes.
And again, it's probably finished, or the finishing touches are going to be on it. But I hope the sculptor followed the cardinal rule:
put the helmet on the guy.
No teeth. Don't show the teeth.
No.
The teeth is where those statues always go bad. You start sculpting teeth, and then you get weird, like vampire-looking people. It doesn't work.
So, you remember the Dwayne Wade statue?
Oh, yeah.
Now, okay, so more than teeth went wrong there. But I'm searching Dwayne Wade, and you know how things pop up as suggestions to search on Google?
Yeah.
The first thing is not stats. It's not family. It's not life. It's not college.
It's in the
the
Hall of Fame, right?
It's Dwayne Wade's statue.
Yeah.
It's the most commonly searched thing with this Hall of Fame peak top 50 all-time basketball player, and it's the statue that we remember. That's mouth open. That's teeth bottom and top.
It's terrifying. In addition to looking nothing like him. Absolutely nothing like Dwayne Wade. You know what it looks like? It looks like one of the zombies from the Will Smith movie, I Am Legend. It's kind of got that same color to the skin and the teeth thing going on. Yeah, you can't do it. Here's something else for Adam 12. At Harvard's Recycling and Surplus Center, a place to get the little everythings all for free.
Can't believe I didn't know about this. Can't believe I didn't know about this, and I'm so excited about it now.
Now, as Harvard continues their takeover of Brighton and Allston, at a nondescript warehouse in Allston every Thursday, it is a 3-hour free-for-all. This is from Dana Gerber in the Globe. The rules at Harvard's Recycling and Surplus Center are simple. Sign a waiver, put on a name tag, and play nice as you hunt through a treasure trove of clothes, books, furniture, and other wares donated or ditched by the members of the Harvard community, all completely free.
So you know it's high quality as well.
I would think so.
Get your mini fridge there from some kid that, moved out of the dorms. You got, Harvard T-shirts. So I can tell everybody I went to Harvard. It's great.
So mini fridges, air purifiers. So there's appliances there. But think about the books and the clothes. I'm looking at a photo right now. Propane tank, hockey stick.
Oh.
There's all kinds of stuff in
It's
here.
a hockey stick, but it's a Harvard hockey stick.
Sounds like stuff that's just lying around in the studio.
I pretty much just.
Is there a cornhole set in there?
No. No one's got
Air purifier. That's up your alley there, Hardy.
Do you guys ever go down the rabbit hole of people shopping at Goodwill and the stuff that they find in there? This might be in my golf algorithm, but there is like an entire subculture of people posting videos of golf clubs that they find at Goodwill because people would just like, somebody dies, they take the golf clubs, these are old, no one's ever going to want them, and they just
get rid of them.
They give it to Goodwill, and oftentimes somebody even playing golf late in life will say, I can't hit the ball anymore, but I could really use a new putter. That will change everything for me. And they'll buy a $400 Scotty Cameron to go with their crap golf clubs, and that'll be sitting in an old bag. And people, if you believe Instagram, are finding $400 Scotty Cameron putters on a daily basis at Goodwill,
Of course,
for 50 cents.
This sounds like better male version Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
Just bring in your golf clubs or sift through the thrift shop.
Absolutely. All right. Andrew, thanks for coming in, buddy.
You got it. Anytime.
Appreciate it.
It's fun.
Good to see you.
Excited to see when Mario Mago gets drafted tomorrow night.
He's going to play a little piccolo solo to celebrate.
I'm excited to see what the odds are for the Celtics. Was that the lie? That was the lie.
That was the lie. Fourth best at FanDuel, still third best at DraftKings. But you got me. I'm not going to do the technicality thing.
We're not doing it.
Because you guys won.
At 5 p.m. today, we'll probably find out how Fred Toucher is feeling, as we found out at 5 p.m. yesterday, to see if he'll be on the show tomorrow.
Others of us did.
And then Adam 12 will not tell anybody, and we'll just show up and
That's right.
be surprised.
Swing it.
All right.
He'll tell me. I'll be back if you need me.
Somebody will be here tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.
Talk to you tomorrow. Toucher and Hardy on the Sports.